You know, how fitting, ladies and gentlemen, that tonight our guest, a man you might want to say, without even knowing it, is a founding father of this platform, a founding father of the All Wrestling Matters movement. We think about today, Memorial Day, the founding fathers, all the veterans that fought for our freedoms. And this man, figuratively and literally, for nearly 2 decades, has been fighting for our freedoms here in the All Wrestling Matters movement, as he has certainly done it all here. He's done it all, and we're going to talk about some of those things here coming up, and maybe 2025, what's ahead in the match, and what a small world the wrestling world is, because I was speaking with the man we're going to introduce here, and he's wrestling a man that I talked about years ago, and on top of that, a man that I've seen in my neighborhood time and time again on posters. Yes, this is actually a thing. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about one more match left in GTS after, well, somebody else whose last name is controversy. He basically said, it's your career, it's over, and other things I can't repeat. Well, he certainly got his. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about a match recently where we now have a stepson with the stepdads and a UWC Tag Team Championship. And you know, we're definitely not dead yet when it comes to the GBYWN. We're going to get into that. Plus, what is going on in TF Crew? Because I heard that TF Crew YouTube champion on somebody else's podcast say to our guest, no mas, no more title shot, no nothing. So I'm going to certainly get our guest's perspective on that. Plus, maybe I'll talk about a number of different things. Maybe I'll get to the chat. Maybe I'll have a little gift for our guest because, well, I've got to give him something because after all, he won't come back on here. Maybe he'll do somebody else's podcast. Maybe he'll, he'll still do them. Trust me, he gets plenty of appearances here. But I can't quite play the full house entrance here because there'll be copyright reasons. But I can do in my own way that introduction in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform that this man most certainly helped build. And boy, what a last 2 nights it was. We hit 1,500 subscribers on Sportswire Radio. And people have been wondering, well, how do we follow all the debauchery, all the carnage from the last 2 nights? Well, I'm going to tell you how, because in the words of Def Leppard frontman Joe Elliott, let's get rocked, baby, and let's introduce our triple champion, because I know our chat's waiting for it, he's waiting for it, and because I've been waiting all day to do it after watching Mission Impossible, the final one. This ain't going to be my final introduction, but I can promise you this introduction will be just as long as that movie and just as long as Tom Cruise tried to basically stay on that plane. I won't tell you the ending, but I'm going to get to the show here right now on Sportswire Radio, the number one global radio station where all music and wrestling matters. So with without further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one Gavel Sports Show, a man that is the founding father of Sportswire Radio, the founding father of the All Wrestling Matters movement, the man that used to host the GBYWN's weekly updates, a man now that is one half of the stepdads that you've seen all over the place. He is the reigning, defending GTS Intercontinental Champion, one half of the UWC Tag Team Champions, and the reigning, defending GBYWN World Heavyweight Championship. His name is simply Dad. Radley. The triple champ is here, my friend. How are we doing?
My goodness, as always, I feel the electricity, my friend. I always appreciate those intros. Like,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of places they come in, this is Radley Belmont.
I know. I've made fun of it. Yes. To be fair, Angel was on a podcast with some guy, and he was like, what are your goals? And I hate to do it. There's the old guy Matt, the Throwdown with Matt. I don't know if you've heard of his podcast, and he does like some guys from like Enterprise, Amplified, some other places, kind of EBW Pro. I think a couple EBW Pro guys have been on there. And it's like, well, what did you think about WWE, and what were your favorite characters? Whereas people come on here and they're like, all right, where is it? I mean, where's that intro? People are like, if you don't do the intro, you don't do it. I feel like the singer Geddy Lee from Rush. I feel like I'm a helium balloon. Every time I say it, people are like waiting for me to blow up on here. So,
There's a wrestling equivalent to that where a lot of people say they don't feel like they're in the zone for a match until they take their first bump. And I feel like you doing that intro is like, it's hitting me with the impact. I'm getting my first bump, and now I'm ready. Let's do some arm drags, baby.
We have a lot to talk about. I will tell you that my voice actually hurted the last 2 days. It hurt. Oh. Yeah, it was. We did 5 hours. People wouldn't let me get off the stream. Originally, we were going to do a roast of me, but I think I'm a little bit cautious of it now because there was some things said yesterday on the platform. Then I got calls from people who said, "Don't do that. Don't do it." I'm like, "Okay, I won't do it." But I mean, my voice definitely was in a bit of pain after the last 2 days. So and Rhino famously said, "I felt like I want to run through a wall from that." Savio Vega was like, "Wow. I haven't seen anything like that one before." I had Gary Wolf, and he said, yeah, that was different. And then I've had all these heavy metal bands, and they were like, it was Doug Pinnick of King's X was like, you're going to sound like James Hetfield of Metallica when he's old. I'm like, okay, I think that's a compliment, but
sure.
Enough about that, because certainly there is a lot to talk about. I was going to start with TF Crew first. Then I was going to start with GTS first. Then I was going to start with UWC first. But actually, you and I were talking off the air, and there's something I want to pull up. And what a small world wrestling really is, because you're wrestling a guy here coming up 2 weeks from Friday that, in a way, I've actually seen on the streets. And I'm going to tell the audience here about it, because for those that are listening and watching here in prime time, on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, Radley Belmont, the triple champion that you are. You are wrestling in Brick, New Jersey, coming up 2 weeks from this Friday against a man that has been in the PWI 500 quite a few times, and a man that I've seen literally on the street, and Darius Carter.
Yeah, Darius Carter is, in my opinion, one of the top indie wrestlers in the country.
I agree.
There's no bull about it, because this guy, go ahead, look up Darius Carter, go on his cage match, and look at the amount of championships this guy has won.
He wrestles literally 100 matches a year or something like that. He's like a big deal.
He is a professional wrestler in the highest sense of a professional wrestler. Like, this is what he does for a living.
Yep.
He's wrestling all over the place. And he's been in monumental matches, the ECWA Super 8.
Yep.
One of the most prestigious tournaments, maybe at this point, maybe the most prestigious tournament in indie wrestling right now.
Yeah.
With over a 25-year history, Darius Carter's won it twice. Like, to be in that position twice, 2 different years, shows the kind of man Darius Carter is. He defeated Delirious from Ring of Honor fame a couple months ago for Matt Pro Wrestling. Matt Pro Wrestling, by the way, a company very near and dear to my heart. It's all about autism awareness. Matt being the promoter's brother who has autism, and he struggles with it every day, but he overcomes it. He's still a very productive member of society.
Good.
And I love that. I love that we're really fighting for a cause here. We're not just entertainment. We're also trying to spread a message.
Absolutely.
And that means a lot to me. I know friends. I have friends with autism. I'm always trying to be a part of autism awareness shows.
Yeah,
so something like this, the fact that this company is every show they're trying to spread awareness about it, and in Matt's name, who's there every single show to watch the show. This is a very busy night for me, the Bayside Thriller, because I decided to took it upon myself, because in GTS I call myself the workhorse because I wrestle every single week at GTS.
Yep.
For a long time, I was the only person to do that. And when I started with Matt Pro, they knew me from GTS, and I would say, well, I'm going to be the workhorse of Matt Pro Wrestling as well. And they said, well, if that's the case, we're having a tag team championship tournament and a grand championship tournament to crown our first title holders. The company's only been around a little over a year. And they said, do you want to be in both? And I said, absolutely. Of course I want to be in both. And they go, well, you're going to have to wrestle twice tonight. Oh, all right. Let's see what happens. So I did the first round, survived the tag division, survived the singles division. I won a 4-way. Second round, I defeated former Pro Wrestling Magic World Junior Heavyweight Champion. And yes, I say world because it has been defended in multiple countries.
Yeah, it's been a topic on Sportswire. Certain wrestlers have said, oh, it's not a world title. It's not defended in the around the world. Yeah.
Well, I will say world because it was actually defended around the world. I defeated former world champion Troy Locke.
Yes, I know Troy.
As well as surviving in the tag division. And now this night, I'm still wrestling twice. I'm pulling for the miracle here. So I'm in the tag team championship finals against South Philly's finest.
Okay.
Who are currently the Three Legacies Wrestling World Tag Team Champions. I'm going to throw that out there again. They are Ricardo Rodriguez of.
Oh yeah. Who I've seen in EBW Pro. I've seen him in. I think it's not Jason Knight's ACW, but I've seen him in Maryland with James Ellsworth. I've seen him at a number of places. Yep. Chase Wakefield definitely knows who he's seen him in different places as well.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I'm sure most of the people will remember him from WWE and.
Yeah, but I mean, recently in the Indies. If you're here in the tri-state area, he's been like an EBW Pro. He's been in ACW. He's been in a number of different places around the circuit.
And he currently has a company called Three Legacies Wrestling, which has some amazingly large cards. I've seen upwards of 6,000 people on some of his shows. They use a baseball stadium for some.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. You know what? I've seen some of them. They GCW's running one here in Coney Island coming up in July. So I've seen that. Sure.
There you go. So they're the World Tag Team Champions there, but. They're also in the finals with us for this championship. And then later on the same night, whether I win or lose, I have to wrestle in the main event against one of the most decorated independent wrestlers.
And this is a guy that's been in there with the likes of Tarzan. He's been in there with the likes of Danhausen recently, Myron Reed. So this is a guy that, like, he's got a legacy. And I know him. You and I were talking about this. I know him because he's wrestled in places like Warriors of Wrestling, which is local to me, and in Brooklyn and Staten Island, they run shows. He's also, you mentioned Pro Wrestling Magic. He has a long history there. I mean, he has a long history going back there. So this is a guy that he's been around a long time. I mean, this is a guy, and again, like you were talking to me about this, and I was like, this is probably like the first wrestler I've talked about with somebody on this platform wrestling that I've actually seen physically, like on a poster that I've walked by. I mean, I've had so many wrestlers here on the platform over the years, and that's like the first one that I'm talking about, like in the flesh and wound of someone I've seen on a poster that someone here is wrestling. It's kind of like a "this is your life" moment.
Absolutely. And the one thing I like to say about people like Darius Carter is some people enter a room, Darius Carter arrives. And there's a huge difference. You know when Darius Carter's in the room, and that there's an intimidation factor there for sure. I've seen his opponents have that intimidation factor.
But are you going to be, with your legacy, who you've been in the ring with, what you've been doing, you're going to be intimidated by that? No, stop. No.
Remember, I'm already going to be wrestling, I don't know how long, 20-minute, 30-minute match possibly in the tag title finals. You know, I think about like Buster Douglas against Mike Tyson. He had an unfortunate tragedy when his mother passed away, and when he fought Mike Tyson, he didn't even care anymore. And it was that lack of fear through just going in there and doing the job that helped him win the fight. I'm going to be exhausted. I'm going to be beat up, and I'm going to go, you know what? Screw it. I've seen a million Darius Carter matches. He hasn't seen much of my singles wrestling, I'll tell you that, because I'm not much of a singles wrestler in a live audience perspective.
No, we talked about that when you were here last. You were here right before the end of the year, and you really wanted to have a singles run. So, I mean, this is, I mean, you certainly, yes, we're going to talk TF Crew, we're going to talk GTS undoubtedly, but this is a guy you are wrestling that he's somebody. He's the definition of a professional wrestler. With all due respect to people, this is a man that this is his living. This is not somebody that wrestles, once a month, twice a month. It's great. We support everybody. We're all wrestling matters. But this is a man that this is what he does. If you flip the PWI 500, he's in there. So this is like as big of a match as it comes. Let me ask you a question, though. In your career, this match coming up, where does it rank in the importance?
As a singles wrestler, I honestly believe this is number one.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because of the credentials that he has. It's a high stakes situation. It's the finals of a tournament. Now, I've won singles tournaments in GTS before. I've never won a singles tournament in front of a live audience at an independent wrestling show like this. It's for the grand championship. It's an established, the first person to hold this title in a company that, like I said, means a lot to me because of the message we send. And it's a man who has already not only won tournaments like the ECWA tournament.
I just put the poster up of him in ECWA.
But also you got to remember, this is a great perspective to understand if you don't know Darius Carter.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, and you might know this already, a couple of years ago, when Brett Dunn was the WWE United Kingdom champion before NXT UK began, he was traveling around the Indies defending that title. Now, I was mostly in the UK. I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe he had 2 defenses in the United States, and one of them was against Darius Carter. That is the level we are talking, where WWE says, we'll have Darius Carter wrestle one of our WWE champions, not signed, not contracted. It's not 2025. We're talking like 2017, 2018, when that was a different world.
Well, I'll tell you what that's like. That's like I'm sure you know Skrilla. Skrilla came on here about 4 months ago, and he had wrestled Lexis King in October. Lexis King, as we know, it's Brian Pillman Jr., was contracted by WWE. He was on NXT, right? He was the Heritage Champion, and he wrestled Skrilla. Skrilla's, basically like not contracted wrestler, but he got that opportunity kind of in a way like a Darius Carter got that opportunity with Pete Dunne. So for sure, that's absolutely something that it's a major thing. And that's almost like the WWE ID program kind of, but like, so this is an opportunity for you to show your skills against a man. Like I said, this is somebody, if I looked in the PWI 500, if I looked at his cage match, there's a long resume. So this is like almost a big moment. I know you've been in there with the Rock and Roll Express. I know you've done a lot. I know GBYW, and I see the people here, and that means a lot. There's no question. You've got that title. I'm going to talk about that. But to me, this is a guy I've seen his face on a poster in the real world. Like, this is to me like a big deal. This is like a monumental moment.
Yeah, this is a top star in independent wrestling in his prime right now.
Absolutely.
Right in your face.
Absolutely.
And for me, obviously this is the beginning of my career. Even though I've been wrestling for almost 9 years now as an independent wrestler,
right?
You could go back 16, 17 years if I add the backyard stuff, which in my mind I do, but not everyone does. All of that coming together, I've never been a single star on the independent level. Nowhere near Darius Carter, obviously, but for me to go through this tournament like I have, literally being double booked every single month, while, like I said, Matt Pro Wrestling's been around for well over a year now. Darius Carter is undefeated in Matt Pro Wrestling. Everyone expected Darius Carter to get to this level. They didn't expect me. And that is the advantage I have over this. I am an unknown. And that doesn't mean they don't know who I am. They don't know what I'm capable of in a single.
Well, you're an unknown to the larger independent wrestling market. Like on this platform, yes, you're revered. You would be the one that's known, and Darius would be in your position going to wrestle him in 2 weeks. But this is an opportunity to show, you know what, Rad might be the underdog, but you might thrive, and that's where you've been your career. You've thrived in that position. You've thrived on the ability to go out there and kind of prove people, hey, I can hang. I can do this. And you've kind of done that of late with this singles run. And this is the man himself. This is the definition of a professional wrestler. And I think that this is going to be a match that I really can't wait to watch, because this is a guy, like I said, I spoke about him on my platform. Nobody was here. This was going back almost 5 years ago during COVID. I spoke about him with Steve Off, who's obviously, now is the owner of Pro Wrestling Magic. And Pro Wrestling Magic, for those that may or not know, is a staple on, independent wrestling TV. And it used to be on, if you had satellite cable, they used to be on through a portal, and you catch it and watch it here if you're in the tri-state area. And so this is like a big matchup. And I think this is going to be one of those matches that I really can't wait to watch.
And it's not just a big matchup for the wrestlers involved. This Matt Pro Wrestling Grand Championship, I've already been told that it will be an interpromotional championship. This title will be defended in other companies, joint promotional shows, like the works. This is not just a house belt. It's not going to be for the 20 guys on the card and that's it in that one town. Like, you know how I feel about championships.
Yep.
They need to be trophies that say you're the best at something.
Yep.
And the winner of this is going to be the best at it.
Warriors of Wrestling. There you go. I mean, obviously, this guy it's a really big moment, man. This is like really, I know we're going to talk some of these moments here that's for this platform is going to, mean a lot here coming up. But this is like a really, really big match. So, like, what's the preparation for Darius Carter versus when we talk about Santiago later, controversy, or when you wrestled Peyton's Gate? So what's the preparation for this?
We'll talk about the other matches in a minute, because those matches were the physical prep for sure.
Right.
As well, I'm sure we'll talk about soon. I went 20 minutes with Angel Santiago to a draw.
Yep.
And I could have kept going. And I know that because then I wrestled Jimmy Controversy in front of 300 people for GTS.
That was a big crowd, by the way. Jeez.
And we went over 25 minutes, almost 30 minutes. So I know I have the physical prep time in these bigger matches where I have not failed. I've yet to fail this year.
Angel, you didn't lose, and Jimmy, you beat him. That's actually a good point that you make, because those matches have prepared you for this moment, because those matches meant a lot. Certainly GTS, we know the 1.3 million subs. We know TF. That was like, what a house that was. That was like a punk rock show. So, you have been in places that had big fight feels to them. You had the electricity there that carried you in those matches. So being in those big matches, that's probably going to prepare you to do what you need to do here in 2 weeks.
And the fact that in both of those events, I walked out with a championship. And that's the main thing you got to remember. I have a very specific, I'll end it with this. I have a very specific mindset when it comes to this. Everybody says you are most dangerous when you have nothing to lose. I absolutely do not believe that, because Darius Carter has nothing to lose. If he wins, he'll be Darius Carter. If he loses, he will still be the man, Darius Carter, Mr. Wrestling. For me, I have everything to lose because if I don't win, I go right back to being a tag team guy, which I love, but I'm trying to prove something here as a singles guy. I believe I can do both, and that's what I want to prove. If I don't prove it tonight, I don't know the next time I'll be in a position like this because, like I said, for the last 9 years, I've never been in a
That's
singles
a
position
great
like this before.
point that you made. My guest tomorrow night, Godric Sandwell, who is wrestling right now currently, and yes, on Memorial Day in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Guy that's wrestled in the Pennsylvania independent wrestling circuit. He just wrestled a guy, La El Shaddai, and it was for a world title. He came up short. That's been a big topic on here. Will he ever win the big one? I had a guy Ramrock on in Arizona and in California. He's wrestled a number of different other places, other different states. And a veteran like you probably has more years wrestling in the indies and elsewhere. And we talked about this with him. How many more opportunities do you get? And this is kind of for you. You feel like this might be that opportunity. And let me ask you, though, this question. And let's say, though, you beat Darius. Let's say you win here in 2 weeks from Friday. Let's say you go on and continue. I mentioned the PWI 500. I mentioned that about Darius and Darius being in there. You look at all the matches. Just look at his Instagram page. Every day there's a match, right? But is that something in your career that, let's say, you find a way here to beat him and go on and have bigger matches these next few months? Is that a goal of yours in your career to be on the PWI 500?
To be very serious for a moment,
Please.
My biggest goal that doesn't involve like a specific contract name, title, if I'm trying to be big picture here,
yeah,
it's extremely important to me that I do enough to be remembered historically. And obviously here we talk a lot of word of mouth, and that's incredible. And we know word of mouth is very important for the future and generations ahead. What I'm talking about is things like the written word, PWI, not Facebook, Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Like I want to have a permanent footprint on print. I want to have a permanent footprint online that generations from now, even if I'm nothing but a footnote, I'm a little link that says Radley Belmont somewhere. Like, how many people do you know that have that? When you think about
it's funny you said that. A guy, Vito Fratelli, that's come on here over the years. I asked him this question a couple years back, and he was like, Tom, I want to be on the PWI 500, and he made it. He was like 437 or 449, and he made it 2 years in a row. And Rhino was here, and he was like, no, that was something when he was in the top 10. He was like, that meant something to me. So I feel like the PWI 500, if you're a true wrestler, and like you, obviously, for us on this platform, you definitely are not, somebody that will be forgotten. You'll be remembered here. But in terms of, I understand your point to those outside of like this platform, like being on the PWI 500, that's a written document. That's something that you go back 30, 40 years, even if you make one appearance on there. That's something that's decades from now. People look at that till the end of time.
And I'm sure I'm the kind of person that even if I get one link on a wiki page or one mention on PWI, it's not enough.
Well, you should feel good about it. Apparently, there's a thing, Chat GPT now, and one of my buddies, Josh Bailey in Brooklyn, the neighborhood, actually looked my name up and did Chat GPT, and he was like, "Boy, you're in Chat GPT." So I think you'll be in that. So I think if you do your name in Chat GPT, you'll.
My lady did look me up once, and I was on that, and it was surprisingly accurate.
I had, what? My friend did the same thing, and I was like, "Oh boy, if I bring this up," but no. But I understand the point. I think that the PWI 500, like, for what you've done, yes, we know here. Yes, I see Justin Abel saying be insane. I see Sean Jovi. I see Doc. I see like Ox McCoy. I say the people here. Yeah, you're going to be like, you're an influence. But I think to be in the PWI 500 for that larger scale, like wrestlers, peers of yours, I equate it. I do a lot of music interviews. And I have Grand Funk Railroad coming on here in 2 weeks, and there's a thing in music called the Billboard Top 200 for the top 200 selling albums every week, and they print it. It's in a magazine, and and that's kind of like, well, how did I do on the charts? And I think in a way, for us as wrestling fans or as wrestlers like yourself, I think being in the PWI 500, I think is that. To say, hey, whether I'm ranked 499 or I'm ranked like Rhino number 9 or 10, I think it still holds the same weight.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And to kind of comment and jump on what you were saying there, a lot we all grow up as wrestling fans, right? Most of us. Yeah. So we have like our favorites from our time. We think of it, I want to be WWE champion one day is something I hear a lot and things. I grew up, and I wasn't wearing this shirt for this reason. I grew up with WCW.
I've seen your Facebook. I've seen WCW.
Yeah,
here. You've been here before.
Yeah, it is my comfort food. I grew up with it. I love it. I will never be able to be WCW television champion. Like, I will never be able to connect my name with those people. But all those people that I grew up watching were in the PWI. I read the PWI when I was younger.
So did I. I tell it all the time. I used to go, there was a newsstand on 76th Street and 5th Avenue, and I used to go into this little newsstand, and I would buy the Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I would buy the magazine. I would buy it. So I remember reading the PWI 500. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's a great way to kind of connect yourself to the ghosts of the past and see how you rank up in the history of wrestling. Like, there's a timeline, there's a continuity here.
Yeah,
we don't talk about that enough. That we all live in the same world as a Dusty Rhodes did, and a Bruno Sammartino and a George Hackenschmidt. Like, their wrestling is our wrestling, and their titles moved into our titles, and that some of it isn't connected, but the PWI is still around. The NWA World Heavyweight Championship is still around.
Well, my guest tomorrow night, Godric Samuel, is wrestling for one of the NWA championships. They announced it last night, and that's like a big deal. So, like, you think about the heritage of if you're a true, and obviously you with your history in the sport, I mean, it's a major deal. Like, you can't wrestle for the WCW Television Championship, obviously, because it doesn't exist. But to be in the PWI 500, that's why I ask people that come on here of your caliber that are in the indies or have those opportunities. I think it means something. I think it does. If you're a wrestler, I think, like I said, Rhino said, I read the PWI 500. He said, I read it. I was probably the only person, which I don't know if this says anything, that has ever asked him that, and the only person that said you were different in terms of how you asked me questions. And I think that's because it means something, and I think that you have an opportunity to do something that I know you're going to do. And I know Darius Carter, I know the caliber, I know you're ready for this match. I'm going to tell everybody why in a few minutes you're ready for it. But before we do anything else, you have to hit the sub button for Rad Dad because he's got 1,500 plus subscribers. He's actually, by the way, for those that don't know, and I know for some of you that don't want to watch Sportswire, you can actually watch one of my interviews on his YouTube page. For whatever reason, he actually did it. I don't know why he did that, because he probably wants to forget my interview versus the other one.
Oh, stop.
No, it's a joke. I'm just kidding. But, but the point is that you should really hit the sub button for him. He's got a lot of content, a lot of matches, a lot of different stuff there. Please check it out. This man means so much to us, and we're going to obviously give him something. I will get to the chat here in a few minutes, but I did want to talk to you actually, because I know I got TF Crew and GTS. I'm going to spend a lot of time on that. I know I got a couple guys that really want to talk to you. I'll get to that in a few minutes, but I wanted to talk about UWC for a few minutes because I thought it was really cool. I got a chance, and it actually wasn't on your YouTube page, which I was shocked about, and I stumbled upon it. I come back from Mission Impossible. I was going to take a nap, but I actually took a nap on the bus because the movie was so long on the way back home from the Staten Island Mall, and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm up. I messaged you. And I'm like, I stumbled upon this match that you had, and I knew obviously, the Spirals because of GTS and other places, and I want to talk about it because you now have a stepson. Let's talk about that. I have the match synced up here in a minute, and just talk about this most recent match that you had, and now having a stepson. What's up with that?
Well, the thing about being a stepdad is that you have to have stepkids, right? Like, that's the whole idea.
Yeah, technically I do have a stepdad, but I'm like so old at this point. Like, I don't really consider him my stepdad. I mean, it's just, but go ahead.
We usually keep things private. Obviously, Wade's family and my family, we keep them private. But one of our newest stepsons, by the way, we've had a few stepsons over the years. They're very come and go. You know, we don't want the kids to get hurt. But in this case, look at this Rocky entrance, by the way.
I did, by the way. I noticed that you had an entrance for this then in TF Crew. Boy, that was I mean, that I'm gonna get to that, but that was something. And this was definitely you've had some different intros in different places. Definitely different strokes for
doing fun intros is like a big staple for me. When we're allowed to do wacky intros, and why not? Why not? Like, and it's so easy. Or we have our gear underneath this Rocky stuff. Why not have some fun with it? The wrestling fan, the common wrestling fan, sees these elaborate entrances, pyro, big music. They come to an independent show, and it's just a guy walking through a door. And I'm like, no, let's give him a show. Let's give him a show. Something that you won't see on WWE.
As long as I give. Finally, somebody. That's why you get the intros here, where you go on Mickey Mouse's podcast, and they go, well, what did you think about WWE? And that's why, I do the intros that we do here.
Do you remember the first match you ever saw? No.
Yeah, I heard you got asked that, by the way. I just listened to one podcast with one of my guests on, and he's like, "Oh, what'd you listen to this podcast?" And that's exactly what they did.
I will not do that. I will not.
No, I know that, but obviously, it's interesting. You've had some issues with Payne's Gate for a while, and they've obviously been in different circles. And I mean, talk about what we're going to see here coming up.
Well, right here we're watching the final battle between the stepdads and a group called Payne's Gate, ran by Kyle Payne.
Yes.
They say they're not a cult. They're a cult. I'm sorry, they're a cult. But with Eris Spiral and Lawrence Spiral on there, I'm not surprised.
Yes, I know them very well.
But we had a long and storied run here at the UWC, the United Wrestling Coalition, where, as you saw those tag team championships that we had there. Oh, I'm looking very good there. As a tag team champions, we are the first tag team to become 2-time champions in, I believe, 7 or 8 years at this company.
Wow, it's pretty cool. That's pretty cool stat.
Yeah, the UWC is known for having lengthy title reigns. One tag team held their tag titles for, I believe, 1,300 days, 1,200 days.
Oh my God!
Goodness. And maybe 6 months after that, a little longer, we were the tag team champions, and we've had them twice. During that entire time, we've been feuding with this group, Payne's Gate. They used the Freebird rule. They did a lot of different. It's like 5 of them.
The New Day, did the same thing.
Yeah. Personally, hate the Freebird rule. Hate it.
Why? Why do you hate the Freebird rule for the audience?
Because it's a team-based thing with 2 people. If you're constantly switching out, you're never beating the actual best team.
Interesting. It's interesting.
And on top of that, on like an inside baseball thing, I don't like people just having all these extra tag title reigns on the side they can say they had when they maybe defended them once and then in like 6 months of a Freebirds reign or something.
That's a good point. I think, you want to be able to see the teams that you're going to compete against. That's a good point. I think that's an interesting point.
It worked great for the Freebirds, and I like that because it happened once. And then it happened again for Demolition a long time later.
I think that was that was the end of Demolition, right? That happened with the end of their run, right?
Yeah, and I know the New Day did it, and that's fine too, because that was like 20 years later. But I feel like there's way too many companies that use this Freebirds rule, and I'm not blaming UWC. I'm talking about a lot of companies that do that.
Well, you just mentioned WWE, WWF did it. I mean, NWA.
It always starts at the top, and if they're allowing it at the top, everyone else is going to do it. And I just feel like there's so much connectivity to 2 wrestlers that they're working, in tandem together. When you're throwing in a 3rd person, a 4th person, a 5th person, oh, this guy didn't make it this week, so now this guy.
I understand the point.
And remember, I was a WCW fan. Their WCW tag titles every other week. It was like, oh, Dusty Rhodes and Scott Hall are defending the tag title. Oh, Six and Kevin Nash is defending tag. And I'm like, why do we even have tag titles? And they got rid of them. They got rid of them for a while.
Well, WCW got rid of the television championship at one point as well toward the end. So I mean,
But when you think of the peak, mid '80s NWA, late '80s WWF, even the current tag division right now in most companies. They don't need the Freebirds rule. They have incredible tag teams that connect with the audience. They don't need it. And
No,
when
I
a
think
team
that those
wins,
are very valid points. I
and
think
when a
that
team wins, it means so much more that there's so fewer people winning titles. You know what I mean? Like there's a
yeah.
lot of belts, sure, but so many people are like, "Oh, I'm a two-time Intercontinental Champion," and that used to mean nothing in the Attitude Era, and now it means a lot when somebody's a
Well,
two-time champion.
because people played hot potato, two potato, three potato, four with championship belts, but in UWC, I think the general point coming back to this match here is that your reign here has meant something. Your reign in this company, it's legitimacy. And obviously they, meaning the Payne's Gate, have been in the way of trying to, thwart your championship runs. And we're seeing certainly the back and forth. You did the noogie here. You've, certainly they've tried to come out and take a break. They've tried to use some ring psychology, and, they're trying to get the upper hand here. And Papa Bear hasn't got a chance to come in there. And maybe it's giving him time to put his bets in, but in the meantime, he's waiting still for you to get the tag, but you can't do it yet so far.
Sometimes I think he just wants me to suffer a little bit. Like I pulled the car too close to the front lawn or something, and he's like, "Oh, I'll come in after he gets a couple hits," and that's okay. But I'm very proud of our run as UWC Tag Team Champions because during both reigns we main evented UWC events, and that is not normal for
in indie wrestling. It's extremely rare in indie wrestling to be.
Yes. That is a huge badge of honor I have, that as a tag team defending tag team titles, we've main evented for New York Championship Wrestling, Truly Independent Wrestling.
I remember New York Championship Wrestling, yes.
Yeah, a lot. I can name a bunch of different companies that 90% of the time, the heavyweight champions in the main event, and the other time, it's the stepdads. And that means the world to me. And, and that's why I'm never going to stop being a tag team wrestler. But I'm ready for double duty here. I'm ready to go into both divisions.
Well, you've been certainly doing that. There's no question that this year, you talked about it when you were here last on Sportswire, that you did, and even Gabe talked about it. Gabe talked about, you and Gabe came on here right around the same time, and Gabe talked about that he wanted to see you have a big run in singles, and you talked about it as well. And I think that we're seeing that, but we're also seeing you here right now in something that you've been known for years and decades, is tag team wrestling. We're watching that here from UWC, and that's from last month. And we're here right now with the legendary Rad Dad Radley Belmont. We'll get to everybody here in a few minutes. We're watching the match. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Thank you so much, everybody, for all of your support. If you'd like, please hit the sub button for Rad Dad. He certainly has been very kind every time he's here with the amount of time that he gives us. And this is a man that built our platform literally. So we want to make sure that we support him. We're very gracious and honored that he has spent his time with us here. So please go out there and give him a sub if you haven't got a chance yet. But no, there's no question, though, that looking at the match, and like I said, I watched it a little bit before I came on here with you, is that you were certainly being worn down a bit. There's no question that they're using some smart tactics here. They've known you guys here for a while, and they're figuring this is the way to possibly get you guys down and maybe take those championships from you.
There's a big reason why I like to take over for a lot of our matches. I like to really get in there because not only is Wade more explosive as he is like methodical like I am. Wade's kind of like my gun, my cannon that I shoot at people. You know what I mean? But fortunately, that means sometimes I get into situations like this where I take a beating and keep on ticking here.
And there's that towel from Steps on Connor.
I'm telling you right now, don't throw in that towel because he's new to this. He thinks, oh, stepdad's getting hurt. I should do something. He said no, and then of course Eris being the jerk, knocks his face in, and he's still fighting. Connor Schaefer, our new stepson. Unfortunately, he's 0-2 right now, but he's learning. He's going to get there. He's going to be all right, and I'm sure we'll do some 6-man tags in the future. We can teach him a good stepdad spank he can use in the match or something.
I'm sure if my actual stepdad was listening to this, he would definitely like to spank me for not acknowledging him still.
There we go. Get him with the bee's knee.
Now we're going to hopefully see that, you're getting willed in here. Mm-hmm. Maybe, just maybe you can, come back to life here and just maybe get Papa Bear in there. And we see the referee counting, and both of you are down, and I could certainly not blame stepson Connor for trying to just hang on there, and you're getting there, you're getting a little closer, and there you go. Papa Bear comes in there, and he's coming in here like a house of fire, and there he goes. Here he goes. One more, two more, three more, and there he goes. He's got them both down. You can just see the size and the strength of Papa Bear, and yep, there we go. Just mash him right in there. Almost mash him in there like cantaloupes. Boom, and there you go.
You should contact UWC about commentary. They don't have commentary.
I've been told a lot of places I should do commentary. Jimmy Controversy famous, like, you want to come to a Pro Wrestling Venom show? And I was like, I'm on Sportswire, though. Yeah, I've heard that a lot. Yeah, I've heard that a lot, commentary. We'll see. Maybe we'll talk about it off the air. But
fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic. But in the meantime, certainly they've come back, Payne's Gate, and they've got Papa Bear down. That was a nice move there, by the way, objectively speaking. That was a really nice kind of turn there. Took a clothesline right into a nice suplex reversal there. I got to say, that was pretty nice.
Oh, I see it happening. I'm going to break it.
There we go. He jumped in there.
This combination, the reason this is the very last time we wrestled them, this is the combination that beat us for the titles last time, about a year ago.
Yeah, I do remember
and
that.
We've never wrestled that combination again until this night. This is the final confrontation, if you will.
Well, I mean, it's could be the final reckoning here, like Mission Impossible. But certainly, you certainly get confused for Tom Cruise, I'm sure, all the time. But how about those punches there? Boom, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, with the knuckle shuffle. There he goes, Dusty, like right there, boy. And you got him right where you want him. And now you get a chance to breathe. Now you got to figure out what to do. And certainly, Mrs. Spiral's out there, and she's trying to figure out what to do next. But it'll certainly develop here shortly. Just watch here and watch and learn. And yeah, there you go, coming back to life. And I could see it coming, but nope, not so fast. There you go. There you go.
Last second.
Yeah. That's what you did. You planned it right there. And there you go there. Just boom, Ultimate Warrior like there for everybody, and throw him back in the ring. And now we're going to come right back in. And it's certainly going to evolve a bit. And this is what makes this match so entertaining and so interesting. And it's you can see, obviously, developing here a bit. And there's Papa Bear, and boom, there we go.
Let me tell you about the story about the birds and the bees.
There we go, baby. There he goes.
Get
we got him
in there.
Come on.
Stepson Bear. Oh, he stopped her.
Stepson Connor makes the save, and the stepdads retain. They retain those UWC Tag Team Championships. Hard-fought win. Hell of a victory. Hell of a match, by the way. Nice little fun match there.
I'm very proud to be the UWC Tag Team Champion. The championship has been around since 1996.
Wow. Okay.
They didn't go on a hiatus and disappear for 5 years and come back. They have been running.
Wow, it's like my guest tomorrow night, Godric Samuel, Express Wrestling in Pittsburgh, 2125 Beacon Street, McKeeswood, Pennsylvania. They've been going on since 1994. Wow, that's
I love it.
96. That's really cool. So wrestle for an indie company with 29 years. Wow, that's pretty cool. That does mean something. 29 years.
It's just like you could almost claim it's a territory. It's so close.
Yeah, some of these places, whether you're in like Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Ohio, there's definitely parts of Jersey, obviously, where you wrestle. There's definitely that feel still of like independent wrestling means that much. It definitely means that much. And obviously you guys have retained. And if you want to see more footage from Rad Dad Radley Belmont, you can definitely do that here on his YouTube channel. I'm going to put his Instagram up. I'm going to put a number of different things up here. I got something for him. I know a lot of people want to talk to you. I'm going to take this off the screen for now because I got to still talk to you about GTS. I got to still talk to you about TF Crew. I got a lot to say, certainly on TF Crew. But in the meantime, let me get to the chat here because everybody wants to say something to you. First of all, he was very excited about this. We talked about this both days on Sportswire over the weekend. Sean Jovi wouldn't miss this. If he was on his deathbed, he wouldn't miss this. No, seriously, he wouldn't miss this. And yeah, he's here. Yes, hello. How you doing, Mr. Sean Jovi? My man, my good man who opened the show last night. And maybe Papa Bear commented for you. Maybe Papa Bear did. No, he's probably looking at what MLB scores he's got for his upcoming bet. I don't know. Yes, thank you, Zilla. Zilla, who is here. That's not a bad thing. Listen, I mean, I don't bet personally. I don't do sports betting. I was always told I should, but I just didn't do it. I have a cousin of mine that ended up somewhere, and he was betting too much, and the old story in Brooklyn, and it was just so he didn't do it.
Listen, I lived in Las Vegas for 16 years. If I
No.
never bet again, I'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do it. But Zilla thankfully has a comment, which I'm glad she put there. Yes, hello to Rad Dad. Mr. Ox McCoy, another veteran from the scene, would like to say hello. One of my buddies, and I'm always here for Rad. He might be a better stepdad to me than my Fabian father, John Bon Jovi, who he tried to find John Bon Jovi, and well, he's definitely still living on a prayer, and I don't know if he's halfway there, but definitely, hopefully, he won't be slippery when wet when he tries for his next birthday to find him. I don't know.
Well done.
Well, I try. I know a lot of Bon Jovi reference. Famously, when I was born, my mother said I was quote unquote conceived to a Bon Jovi song or something. It was a Bon Jovi Scorpions concert or some combination. So whatever it is, it doesn't make a difference. We're not here to talk about that. We talked plenty about me yesterday. Hello to Ox McCoy. I agree here from our friends in the All Wrestling Matters Alliance. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate the kind words, but it's really about Rad Dad tonight, and we appreciate that. And speaking of people that I know you were on a card with recently, and a man that apparently is inching his way closer to Sportswire. I spoke to Gabe about it. Yes, I've spoken to him a bit. And Mr. Doc Holliday, who, by the way, has something in common, wrestled and defeated Jimmy Controversy this year, like you.
Good. Jimmy, the more Jimmy loses, the more the world will be a better place.
I'm going to plead the fifth on that, but I am going to say thank you very much, Doc Holliday, for tuning in. And yes, hello there. Hello. Who else we got here? Thank you, Maria. Maria DeFalco is tuning. I think she's got in the wrong show. She might be looking for baseball talk, but that's okay. Thank you for tuning in. I want to talk about Chase Wakefield for a few minutes. Chase Wakefield, who's been making monthly appearances here on Sportswire Radio. The other thing I talked about in my hype video that you were a part of is this Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational. And the other news when Chase was here that he broke was that Mike Damage is now going to be a part of the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational. Obviously, also here, Chase is wrestling Mr. Matt DeMorris, who is extremely influential. I don't even have to tell you that. But so, what do you make of this Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational? Now we're one step closer, and now that Mike Damage is a part of it.
Well, listen, as somebody who not only was around Matt DeMorris, but wrestled Matt DeMorris for this title, unfortunately, I was not successful. He was that night. I know what it means for a guy like Matt DeMorris to not essentially come out of retirement, but to have one last run and to have it be a part of the Chase Wakefield Invitational. That Matt doesn't do things like that unless he really believes in them. Matt doesn't care about money. Matt DeMorris never cared about fame. He's never cared about being a top indie star or anything like that. Like, you'll never hear Matt DeMorris talk about Matt DeMorris. Everybody else does. That's what makes him such an awesome urban legend and a great human being, to be honest. To have him say, yeah, I want to be here. I want to wrestle you. I want to be a part of this invitational. If I knew nothing about the CWI, I don't know if they call it that. I'm calling it that now. The CWI.
Sounds like a college basketball tournament or something. I mean, geez.
Yeah, there you go. So, but if I knew nothing about this event and all I heard was Matt DeMorris wants to go, that already puts it at a top echelon. If I hear Mike Damage wants to go,
that was the latest update. I mean, we talked about that. Chase was here 3 weeks ago. That was wow. That caught a lot of.
And Mike Damage even contacted me after the fact, being like, "Hey, I'm going to be on the show." and Mike Damage is a guy who, again, never wanted to be an independent wrestling star. Never cared about going viral. Never cared about any of that stuff. He just wanted to have great matches and great moments. That's what this guy's all about. And he's only wrestled at last year's reunion show. That's the only show he's been on in since 2016 or 17.
I was going to say 8-9 years. I was about to say the same thing. Since
quite a while. He might have had a one-off appearance here and there. I could be wrong. He might have had a match somewhere in between. But he's not a regular wrestler on it, and by any means. He wrestles at big shows in extraordinary matches. That's what he cares about. He wants to make an impact.
I want to get your perspective because I don't know how familiar you are with Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has also been a guy that, like you, he's transitioned into the Indies. He's wrestled the Barbarian. He's also, for those that may not know, some of us know maybe others on the platform don't. He's had his own super shows in the backyard wrestling circuit, Best in the Yard, and they are very, very well known. And they have one coming up later this summer. I know Chase is going to talk about that when he comes for his usual spot on Sports, where he's become like one of the usuals on here. But like, I think it's kind of in a way a generational matchup in a sense. It kind of makes sense that Mike Damage is wrestling Aaron Jones because of their importance to two generations. I think in a way it's kind of like a generational link match in a sense.
Absolutely. It reminds me a lot of what we were talking about with the PWI and championships and Shadows of the Past and everything, because when we not only started the GBYWN, but we're thriving with the GBYWN, every dream match wasn't two GBYWN guys. That was very rare. It was mostly GBYWN taking on the past generation that we call the Backyard Wrestling Link. And that was the Daniel Macabes and the Scott Hensons and the Yakuza Jays and even some random names like Chris Hero were in the Backyard Link days. M Dog 20, Hornswoggle, I believe. Anyway, but those were the dream matches to get those two generations to meet. And every time they did, it was absolute magic, because as different as the generations were, the interconnectivity, like the woven nature of their style into our style, was so natural that it created an incredible spectacle every single time. Now, I like to think this is a third generation of backyard wrestling.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, because I think the Chase Wakefield wedding invitation, I know Summer Bash is coming up in July, and obviously we're definitely going to be talking a lot about that on Sportswire. I know Doc was a part of last year's Riot in the Ring over at NEW, but I think the Chase Wakefield wedding invitational one, it kind of follows up what GBYWN had. It kind of follows up a little bit with what we had here with We're Not Dead Yet, because you're getting like a hodgepodge of like BYW guys, you're getting some indie guys, you're getting some guys that are kind of like in-betweeners. So I kind of think like in some ways that this coming up, we'll certainly find out when exactly it is kind of in a way picks up where some of those things left off, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. We always think of it as like, there was a community and an era and it ended, and then there was a gap and another community pops up, and that's really not the case. There is an interconnectivity there. It's just you don't really see it until now, when these new generation wrestlers are getting to wrestle guys from the past, and you see, oh, they were inspired by us, which is incredible to say out loud. They were inspired by us, and that's where the interconnectivity is. There was no gap. There is a clear timeline from us to them and onward and upward. I don't know if we're ever have a name for it. Like the GBYWN had a name for its era, even at the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it
maybe the All Wrestling Matters era.
Maybe, but I feel like that the GBYWN was like a legitimate. You had a form. It had like it's not my call to call something of it, but
right. I don't think it was my call for the GBYWN either. It was nobody's call, really. I think just naturally, as every promotion got bigger and became more self-sustaining, self-efficient, that they wanted a bigger challenge, and suddenly they started working together more. And what do you call that?
I mean, I
That's
think
what the era is.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Listen, there's some companies that come on here, and some of them I think definitely, take that spirit. Others, people look at, well, there's people on I'm not going down there, but there's some people that are on trampolines, and people kind of feel a certain way about that. Then there are those that are more undergroundish, then there are those that are more of the BYW spirit. So I don't know. I mean, as long as you're having a good time, if you want to go down that road, your guess is as good as mine on what you want to do with it. But yeah, I think the GBYWN certainly had a lot of strengths, and it will remain to be seen what comes up of what this era is. But let me get to some more comments. That's a nice belt you got there, Rad. Be ashamed if Sportswire's first BYW guy was eyeing it up. Well, I mean, you can eye it right now. You can look at it. You're welcome to look at it. I don't think you could take it.
Listen, it took me what I started in 2009, I believe, and it took till last year to win it. I mean, Sean, I know you've been around a really long time, but you might need to wait. I took my. I'm trying to think. I think this was my third or fourth shot at the title, and that's in like 15 years.
Well, that's like my guest Ramrock Thursday night, who's wrestled for like a world title 3 times in like 15 years. Doc Holliday wants a shot at it too. I mean, he wants a shot at the GB.
I'll tell you this right now without spoiling anything. Keep your eyes on the TF crew because Doc Holliday and I have some talking to do.
I'm gonna get to that. Once I get through the chat, I have somebody that wants to say hello to you. I'm gonna get to that. Absolutely. Listen, TF crew, I've been waiting. I've been waiting for like 3 months to talk TF crew. I mean, I've been waiting for this. I mean, I know, and I saw Santiago do a podcast, and it was like the guy didn't even like watch TF crew. It was like, well, you come here. I mean, I asked Jake Dvorak about it on Thursday. I mean, I see B Insane who was there. I see a lot of the NEW people that were there. They watched the show in January because some of them were on the card. And yeah, I've been waiting for 4 months to talk about this. I mean, 4 freaking months I've been waiting to talk about this. Thank you. Yep, Torrance Banks. I'm going to get to Torrance Banks. He's an important one in a few minutes. But he also another one that wants a shot. And he's a New York guy from my state that wants your championship. And these New Yorkers, they want to win a championship in basketball. Now they want a championship in the GBYWN. I mean,
the title did change hands once in Amsterdam. I know that for a fact. So it's not too.
Well, he's a little far away from Amsterdam. Amsterdam's he's near Buffalo. You gotta go a little bit more.
Same state.
But everybody wants a shot at it. I could certainly see why. Let me get to some more comments. Ox is watching Raw. He's back and forth. That's okay. Anything good on Raw? I don't have Netflix, but I'm on Sportswire instead. Thank you very much. Speaking of which, there he is, the NEW Undisputed Champion, Mr. B Insane, said it's his second dad, by the way. Anything you want to say about him? Do you have anything you want to share about Mr.
Well,
B?
I hope you mowed the lawn, and if your mom finds out you didn't mow the lawn, we're gonna have to have another talk because you gotta mow the lawn. I know you keep saying, "Oh, I'm gonna do it after school," and then where are you? Where are you after school?
I didn't have I was fortunate. I didn't have a lawn growing up until I was like going into college. So at that point in Brooklyn, I didn't have a lawn. So now it's more, if I don't do anything, well, here's my bank account. So, but I'm in a different position. Hopefully though, you do mow the lawn, and it is that type of year, type of season to get to now that we're almost going into June. Everybody wants a shot. And, the one who is 6 feet under, and we ain't talking about that with Mark, maybe he's the third. And okay, so we got a number of different dads here. We're going to leave that at that. Yeah, we're going to leave that at that. There we go. We got emojis here.
By the way, I did want to make a faction one day. This is like public knowledge.
Okay.
That Wade and I take another 2 dad characters, and we become the forefathers.
Wow.
That's our goal one day. That has not happened, but.
I'm surprised nobody's come up with that, but I think it's a good time. I have a lot of people in the chat still, but I want to give you something. I know I've done this before, but I want to do it again because, well, I just want to do it because, well, I'm going to do it right now because it is Rad Dad Radley Belmont Day for the second time on Sportswire Radio. So you will get the physical copy when we're off the now there's no other podcast that does this. I can guarantee you that. But yes, I made sure you have another one of these. And then when you beat Darius Carter, we'll put you in the Hall of Fame again, and we'll have you back on. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot about that. But there you go with the John Hancock, and I'll give you the physical copy when we're done. I appreciate you and appreciate you being here for us. And I'm very happy with a lot of people here in the chat. We'll get to them. As you always were like, well, do you think anybody will tune in? I'm like, nah, you'll definitely get people tuned in. People love hearing you on Sportswire, But you hit the sub button for us. Really true mentality right there. If we can leave our mark, no matter how much of a footnote, there'd be enough for me as proof I existed. I think that's a good point. I feel like, you do speak for people on that. I think is in our circuit or what you do against Darius, I think there is an importance to when I can't do this or one day when I'm no longer on this earth, you want to be remembered for something.
Absolutely. I talk to people about that a lot more than you'd think, about ways to be remembered, ways to keep your legacy, preserving not just all history, but your own history in a way. Yeah. One thing I've thought about recently in just chatting with people is it would be really incredible if we could etch QR codes onto. I know this is gonna sound dark, but
No,
if you go to like a graveyard,
I
and
live
you
across
etch,
the street from one, by the way.
well, I do too. Actually, it's right. I can see out the window if it
Well,
wasn't
you're in
dark out.
Keyport, which I think you're off the highway, right? Like off the side of the highway or something like
Yeah,
that.
like a minute off the highway. Yeah, right
Yeah,
next to a Wawa. But
yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
my thought was you get QR codes and you etch them on the tombstones, and so people can come up and take a photo of the QR code, and all of your social media, your videos, your photos, like posts from your history would come up, and you could literally kind of follow someone's history throughout their life. Something
It's
like
funny you
that
said
would
that.
be
I do like freelance work, and sometimes they'll ask you a question again. They say, "Well, what would be the three things that you'd want to, imagine yourself in the year 2200? Like, what three things would you take away from it?" I always say, "Well, my phone because it has my day to day, like what I did, my
yeah.
laptop because it has all of my stuff, and I said naturally my wallet because you could take my money."
There you go. Perfect.
People laugh at that usually. But I have money, so people look at it and go, "Well, yeah, I like his wallet." But thank you. Yes, hello to Be Insane. Jovi would like to say, Meta AI was scary accurate. Yeah, AI is an interesting thing here on his end. He did the Chat GPT. It knew about the GBYWN World Pure Title Reign and some stuff I forgot about. Yeah, I mean,
That's
it's
cool.
amazing what people can do and say. My friends at work look me up through chat. You see what I mean? It's a big thing here, and yeah, details, yeah. And how you doing up to Jovi? And regardless, if Rad makes a stamp in history, he's historical to me.
Oh,
You
Doc,
are.
one of a
So is
kind.
Doc. So is Doc. I mean,
Oh,
so is Doc.
high praise.
Makes me wonder how deep the AI goes. Yeah, good question. I'm not going to give you the answer because I don't.
Watch Terminator 2. That'll tell you everything you know.
It's funny because they did go. Was it what was the scene where Linda was or Sarah Connor was like on the table and they were showing like what would happen and yeah,
against the fence and all that. And it's
well, I'm not spoiling Mission Impossible, but there's kind of a scenario like if something happens in the movie. Like I'm not going to spoil it, but that's kind of part of the storyline and like what they're trying to fight to like save the human race. But yeah, I don't want to spoil it because people might actually watch that movie. Let's leave that at that. But want to say hello to the underground OG himself, Mr. Darkron. Mr. Darkron, of course, we're very happy to see him here. Thank you, Mr. Kron. Appreciate you. And my buddy Barry Gutman. Speaking of people, I haven't seen Barry in months. Barry, hope you're doing well. Barry's one of my guys from the neighborhood. Barry knows me when I didn't have mutton chops. Barry knows me when my hair wasn't like this. So Barry's knows me for like years. And Barry, hope you're doing well, my man. I'm going to just say that GTS is a real business, and you can check it out on YouTube. I'm going to answer that for you. So check out GTS. I'm going to plug that here in a few minutes. I would recommend, actually, if you did want to go on a podcast. I usually don't recommend other people's podcasts, but this guy, Timothy Titan, is important because he, like you, was a wrestler, just recently retired. He's from the Pittsburgh area. He's got a podcast. It's called the Indie Vision Podcast, the Indie Vision Network Podcast. And they actually interview up-and-coming wrestlers, Dave Jameson, my guest tomorrow night, Godric Sandwell. And they've got a lot of really, like, big Brohemoth, a guy that's traveled up and down the country. So, like, if you were going to do a podcast, I usually don't recommend others but mine. But Timothy Titan is a guy that I would recommend. One day I'll connect you to him because he's actually got some better questions than me. He's also a wrestler. He's got two co-hosts, and one of them is on Ring Crew. The other one has been a wrestler, and they have a really interesting story. And I definitely recommend the Indie Vision Network, and maybe you'll go on there because you've got a great story. And hit the sub button for them, and maybe some of these guys here in the chat will be on there. So let me give Timmy a nice plug. And his guy, Tommy Har, will be here Sunday night, 9 o'clock. See, I'm a gentleman. I actually will promote other rivals' podcasts. Who else would do that? I'm a gentleman. I'm not quite a Rhodes Scholar, but
how are you going to survive in this business being so nice? How are you going to do that?
I don't know. That's why they want to roast, but there's no roast because I changed my mind because legalities were like, yeah, I think somebody will say something that'll just be, they'll throw me off the internet. But let's get to more people here. Tony Clown Con, thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate you. It's that time in evening. Yep, how you doing, Ox? Who else we got here? Hi. Good evening, legends. Thank you very much for that. And hit the sub button for Rad. Hit the sub.
That's one of my friends, one of my personal friends outside of wrestling, Matt.
How you doing, Matt? And are you related to Michael Keaton?
He must have saw my ad on Facebook. Great to see you, Matt. Love you,
How
buddy.
you doing, Michael? How you doing, Matthew? Matthew. Whoever asked me a question, and thank you, Marie. I appreciate you. And yeah, it's nice your friends showed up. Yeah, that's very nice of them. You hit the sub button for Chase on in Instagram. Oh, by the way, Jason Storm. Speaking of people carrying on here in the present day underground and backyard circuit, the ROEW champion, and has formed a new faction that seems like with Omen Black. It's his platform, and he's a big fan. I'm a big fan of Jason Storm, and Jason
I
Storm.
appreciate it. That's a nice looking belt there.
He's a big guy. He's a big guy, and he's definitely don't get him angry. So we're very happy that he likes us right now because I don't want to get on his bad. I just saw what he did in the cage not too long ago. I've got Raw on for background noise and Rad Dad on for real wrestling. Well, thank you very much. What's happening in Raw? I haven't watched Raw since it's been on Netflix. Am I missing anything?
Same for me. I have no idea.
I don't, unfortunately, I have a thing called Kodi, which basically like you get all the streaming, all you have an internet. If you want to buy it, there's a box on Amazon. It's an XBC Mart box. It's for $100. As long as you have internet like Fios or whether Spectrum, whatever it is, and T-Mobile is another example, and you can watch like 1,000 channels. So I've been using it since years. But thank you, Jason. There's the Indie Vision Network, like a plug, like a good neighbor. State Farm is there, and Barry there, my buddy Barry Gutman. Barry, good to see you. Where have you been? Speaking of people, I was talking about Mr. Jake Dvorak, who certainly wrestled Gabe Sayers there in TF Crew, and I was asking Jake about the future of TF Crew. We're going to get to that in a few minutes, but what was your impression of Jake Dvorak here? Jake's also going to be on the UWF show Wrestling Tank 2 weeks on the 13th of Friday, and you're going to be one place. He's going to be another place, but Jake is a good buddy here. He's been here a while, and what's your impressions of Jake Dvorak, and now you get a chance to be in a locker room with him?
I mean, I'm obviously a very traditional wrestler, very pure wrestler.
Yeah, I know that, but
guys like Jake that can do the style he does, I don't know if envious is the right word, but I'm like, man, if I could do all that, that'd be I wouldn't have to do headlocks and stuff, like. And I'd look way cooler in photos because half the time I just got a headlock and I have a face.
No, you look, you got the noogie in there. No. Listen, we've seen before at the paper. No. Listen, the stepdads we love the stepdads here, but Jake is definitely. He was here. He was gracious enough to be here yesterday, and he of course has a big match coming with Power Surge this Saturday, and he's had his wars with Gabe Sayers over the past several months, and. I'm sure we'll see more of that. And thank you, Jake. Let's get to some more comments. Thank you very much. He's a big fan of Rad Dad. And hit the sub button for the Indie Vision Network. And Barry will be back here. Thank you, Barry, for that. But we are here with Mr. Rad Dad Radley. But we'll let him zip a coffee. I'm going to plug a couple things here. We'll be here tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern time with Godric Sandwell, the gentleman of exquisite caliber. Yes, he definitely looks like you a little bit. Definitely got a similar wrestler, but definitely has come up with some different things here. But what can let me get this comment? Actually, you know what? Let me go to this guy here because he's an interesting guy, but he's a fan of GTS. He actually told me he was a fan of GTS. I'm going to do this here because I know his counterparts are in West Virginia wrestling right now. How can you get into okay, let me read this again. I need to read here. I might need glasses. How can one get into GTS? This is the real question because I think the controversy King versus the modern day non-Hitchin champion in GTS would be a killer match. Well, you live in West Virginia. There are a little bit ways to go. You need to obviously connect with GTS management for that. And maybe they'll give you an opportunity. I mean, that's the best way I could tell you. I mean, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You have to be able to show up to essentially South Jersey every Thursday night. Can you do that?
He's in West Virginia. He's in West Virginia, and he's got school tomorrow. So I don't know if he's got a ride to West Virginia.
Maybe wait on that one.
Yeah, I don't know if he can get a ride from West Virginia to South Jersey. That might be, I don't know. That might be asking his parents for a lot. I mean, I would like to see him wrestle there. I like to see anybody wrestle anywhere, but it's a little bit ways to go from West Virginia.
Dare to dream. That's what I always say. I never say you can't do anything.
What they say for the lotto, it's $1 in a dream. It's $1 in a dream. My mother's been playing the lotto, for years.
With inflation, it might be $2 now. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you know what? My mother still plays every day, even though if she could take my bank account, she'd win the lotto. It'd be like winning a lottery ticket. But then I don't have any money, and then I have to actually then I can't do Sportzwire anymore. I can't just sit around and and talk to you and everybody else all day. So maybe we don't want her to take my money and win the lotto. Maybe not. No, but Yeah, this is the GTS. Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, this is GTS. Yeah, you're the GTS Intercontinental Champion. So I think our friends in the Indie Video Network like, wait a minute, that's him. Yeah, some people need to maybe get their.
I love saying this to people. I am the longest reigning, most defending GTS Legendary YouTube Champion, their top championship of the last 10 years, who was not born a Hitchens, which means not Grimm or Duhon.
Yeah, I knew that. But you know what? All right, so let's talk about that because
really
I do
cool.
want to talk. I do want to talk TF Crew, but since I see people are into GTS, I'm going to bring it up because I have the match. I got a chance to watch. I was really glad I got a chance to watch it because I have a lot to say on this match, believe it or not. And I want to talk about it with you because obviously you've wrestled here a man that has been on my platform, and actually. He's the reason you came onto this platform, and Mr. Jimmy Controversy. Obviously, Jimmy Controversy is a man that, said quite a bit about you during this match and before this match. And so this was a different match than I kind of expected. And let's talk about it. And obviously, 300 plus people were here. And just give me your feelings now that the match has been a few weeks past you and what it was like to be here in GTS's Brewery Brawl.
So I don't want to overhype it, but I feel like I'm gonna sound like I'm overhyping it because it was extremely important, not only to me but to the company, GTS Wrestling. This was the first time GTS Wrestling ever ran a live event completely on their own. It wasn't a promotional event. It wasn't connected to any other wrestling company that already had a venue or anything. This is just GTS Wrestling for a live show for a live audience. We had at first we had 150 fans sold out. They then were able to expand to 200 and then finally to 300. It is fire safety capacity.
Wow. Okay.
When I don't like to throw out, we're sold out and all that kind of stuff unless it's real. We were genuinely sold out. We couldn't get comps. No, I couldn't bring my lady along. Like it was.
No, stop saying it on the. You're a lot. You're here. People actually are tuning in when you're here. You can't say that the missus, your other half, couldn't show up to this. No, stop.
Nah, she wouldn't want to watch anyway. She would like to go watch 90 Day Fiance or something. So it's fine.
Duly noted. I give you that. All right, touche.
That's perfectly fine. But yeah, so getting to wrestle the first official live GTS event in front of a sold out Icarus Brewing Company. And I'm the main event. Literally 5 minutes before Thunder Rosa just wrestled, and here I am. I'm the main event, and I'm taking on Jimmy Controversy for the Intercontinental title, a title that I not only have the record of the longest reign, but also the second longest reign in the history, the 15-year history or so of the title, a little less maybe. And so I'm competing here to get my fourth reign. And I'm wrestling a guy that I've never actually defeated in a singles match. And I've beaten everybody in GT.
But it's a different, people think Jimmy Controversy, right? They think, matches with Dirty Ron. They think of his work with, Tommy Dreamer, Gary Wolf. They think of everything that Jimmy Controversy has done in deathmatch and hardcore wrestling. But this match was so out of the ordinary for Jimmy Controversy. And
you're absolutely right. That's probably why I won. But anyway.
No, stop that.
But I had a fan come up to me after this match. So as you're watching, think about this. An older fan came up to me. He goes, that match reminded me of Terry Funk and Ric Flair in '89. And it
was definitely different. It was definitely
It had a very old school vibe to it. We had a very slow pace. This is a few minutes into the match at this point, and it's very different from a traditional GTS match. If you ever watch a traditional match, it's very go 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 go. We're not playing around. We're not talking. We're just going. And with this kind of match, I love to feed off the crowd. I love to listen to the crowd, talk to the crowd, understand the crowd, get their emotions, get their reactions. Every independent pro wrestler should do this. And it allowed for a very different feel. And the fact that we went up 25 to 30 minutes, I believe the video itself is over 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's like 33 minutes.
Minutes. It allowed for a very different experience, not only for the GTS fans that were there, but for the people watching who don't get to see a 25-minute Rad Dad match. This is what I do. I love to do this style of match. It's a very old school style.
I'm gonna say something
exciting style.
and tell me your thoughts. Because Jimmy's been on here a lot. Jimmy, I love Jimmy, and I love talking about some of the stuff that Jimmy's done. But I feel like this match is like the best match of Jimmy Controversy's career. What do you say toward that?
Jimmy, so I don't like to say like that was the best match you ever had or anything like that. Jimmy said it was one of the best of his career.
That's what I watched. Yeah. You know what? I that's my first look because it's so like what you don't expect from Jimmy Controversy. So like to me, that's why like this match, like, again, I talked about the names and you talk about the style that Jimmy Controversy's been in, and Jimmy Controversy sometimes is like, not so serious, or he's doing the death match, or he's doing, what you've seen him in different places, where it's Carnage Cup, whether it's in other places, I see Jake here, NEW, or, TF Crew, certainly stuff with Hardcore, Doc Holliday's here in the chat, but like, I think this was the best thing that Jimmy Controversy ever did. Let me tell you why, because this has been a topic on here the last few months. Guys like Jimmy Controversy, believe it or not, want to prove to everybody else that they can do something like this, because there's a big thing in deathmatch and hardcore wrestling that guys get typecasted. Jesse Daniels talked about this. Kato mentioned this when he was here. This is a big thing, and I think for Jimmy to show that, yeah, I'm not just that guy that you throw into Legos. I'm not just this guy you throw into barbed wire and thumbtacks and through tables and everything else, literally, and the kitchen sink. I can go and put on a match with a guy like you who's more of a traditionalist, keep it simple, stupid. And I think that's why, like, this is the best match of his career.
I on a personal level, I would wholeheartedly agree. And I think that we all say what we say about Jimmy. Jimmy's done stupid things.
Jimmy's Jimmy. I know.
And we're going to hold him accountable to those stupid things. But Jimmy Controversy can wrestle.
He can.
And I mean wrestle in the traditional sense. He is. Look at this, what's happening right now. He is a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get, because of the way he acts, the way he is. Nice block there. He doesn't get to showcase that as much. So he gets a little rusty here and there. And like when his A game is on, and I'm telling you, his A game was on that night, because this was loser leave GTS. I said on camera that the next time I lose a match at GTS, I would leave GTS. So theoretically, this night could have been that night. And Jimmy also put his career on the line. We wanted this to be the biggest main event possible.
You're kind of doing the Mickey James storyline in Impact a few years ago, kind of.
Well, I think more like the Ric Flair retirement tour. But either way.
Yeah, well, she did it most recently.
But yes, absolutely. And that puts the pressure on me. Like I said, I'm best when I have all the pressure on me. I'm not, I don't care about having nothing to lose. I want everything to lose. I thrive under the pressure of that. And Jimmy also thrives, man. When push comes to shove, the kid can work. And I think there's a huge stigma there, like you said.
I think it's a big deal with hardcore and deathmatch, because I get a lot of them on here. Brian White talked about the deathmatch juggalo. Kato, who's wrestled Jimmy Controversy, talked about Jesse Daniels, who's wrestled Jimmy Controversy's talked about it. I mean, a lot of them have come on the platform, and they've talked about that. They want to show people that I'm not just this person that gets typecasted. And I think that is a big thing for guys like a Jimmy to show, you know what? I'm in a big crowd, big fight feel, sold out, more to capacity, and I can put on a match with somebody like you.
I know, not to throw names out there, but Mikey Anarchy from the TF Crew. Yes. At times, people have told him, you're just a deathmatch wrestler, which
he said
of all, is very disparaging to deathmatch wrestlers.
And I agree with you. Thank you for saying that, because Mikey, the one time he came on here, said, I'm influenced by Vader. Vader wasn't a deathmatch wrestler.
Yeah. And I've had great matches with Mikey Anarchy that there wasn't a single weapon used. He doesn't have to use these weapons. It's just a different style, but people don't give them the benefit of the doubt, don't give them a shot. I mean, I gave Jimmy a shot here. Jimmy deserved this opportunity to go just one-on-one with me, no weapons, we just go. And he freaking delivered.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I hope he takes this footage and shoves it in everybody's face because he
Well,
deserves
well,
to.
after the match, he certainly tried to do some more things to you. So I don't
Well,
know if he's doing
he
that.
didn't do it during the match, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I guess he can be a deathmatch wrestler after the match. I don't know, but
Yeah, well, it's not
you
going to
know,
be in GTS. He'll be doing some of that. Spoiler alert. But I mean, no, I think that this match really, there's definitely like the crowd added something here. I really think like, like GTS, some people know it for, the product but to see what you guys did in front of a venue like this with that many people, there's an electricity, no question.
oh yeah, this was a fantastic crowd. I've been in front of some really great crowds
You
around the
mentioned New York.
300 mark.
You mentioned NYCWA. I mean, you had some big stuff there. We talked
Yeah,
about it here in the past.
yeah, exactly. Even the Truly Independent Wrestling was inside a mall. They'd easily have 300, 400 people at those shows easily.
Yeah.
And the reaction is just, if you're not used to it, it can be very overwhelming very quickly. I know there are people on this card on this night that were very overwhelmed, and maybe they didn't show it on camera, but they were in tears in the back, and it was a lot for them.
Wow.
That's something that you have to kind of learn over time.
That's fascinating
And
because GPS though is like people the amount of views you get, and yet people still felt that way. I just find that fascinating because look at how many people watch you guys
right.
when you do it on YouTube. Why?
The,
Why do you
the,
think that was?
the thing is, see, I enjoyed that. I got in right at 9, and the crowd really loved that. Nobody uses countouts anymore. I'm telling you. But when you see like one of my last YouTube title defenses got somewhere around like 40,000 views, you see that and it just looks like a number. It's just a number on a screen. Yeah, you get a couple of comments. All right, then you're thinking, oh, I got 5 comments, and maybe there's 100 comments in the YouTube page. Okay, there's 100 people. Like when you're in front of 300 people and they're looking at you and they're yelling at you, that's very different from just seeing a number on the screen.
That's
And
fair. That's fair.
I think that's just something that you have to kind of learn over time, that how to handle that, how to deal with that. Luckily, I mean, I was in theater as a kid. I did all sorts of like public event stuff. It was very common for me to be in front of large crowds. So it's exciting to me. I love big crowds. I want to be on one of those Three Legacies wrestling like 3,000-4,000 person crowds. I'll thrive, man.
But I think we'll talk about TF Crew, in a few minutes, but I think that these crowds had that electricity toward them in that some people do thrive in that. It's like a big thing in sports. Some people in the postseason, they turn into somebody else. People can just all of a sudden, they just become different. I mean, and I think that this match really with both of you guys, I think that it was just, it's funny. I watched it before we came on the air and I got a chance to sit down with it. And I was going to talk about it, but I wasn't going to talk about it originally and put as much time as I thought I would tonight. But because of how I looked at the match, I was like, this really should have some time spent on here because of really, I think what it should do, not just for you and what you're going to do to Darius Carter in 2 weeks, but for Jimmy Controversy, because Jimmy got a chance to wrestle not only in front of a big crowd, but also wrestle a style in a match that he's talked about on here that he wants to wrestle Dean Allmark. So if he wants to wrestle Dean Allmark, well, Rad Dad has certainly held the championship that Ospreay has competed for, and Demoris we spoke about, and all these other big names that have certainly been in the GBYWN. And well, this is kind of your opportunity to show if you've got something. I think that's why it's important to spend time and highlight what you guys both did.
Yeah, I feel like this was a win for both of us in the end, despite the outcome. It's a showcase of what we can really do when we're given the ball. We were told straight up in the back, like, your match has no time limit tonight. Don't worry about 10 minutes. Don't worry about 6 minutes time. Like, just go out there and wrestle. We were told, like, there's some entertainment. These guys are going to dress like this. We're going to have some fun. they looked at me in the back and they said, "Go wrestle," and that's what I do best. And so I went out there and we wrestled, and we had to my opinion, this is one of my favorite matches ever. I really love this match, and to think it's with Jimmy Controversy, you go, what? But now we got to stop thinking that way and start thinking,
no, but I think it's a big deal. Let me ask you this question. You look at your last few months, right? You're going to have Carter 2 weeks from Friday. We're going to talk about Santiago in a few minutes. You had this with Controversy. You've had the run with the Intercontinental title. You've had the back and forth with Grimm. I mean, how do you feel right now at this stage of your career?
To really emphasize what I'm about to say, I need you to know that COVID was like 3 years of my life that I thought I practically lost 3 years of my wrestling career. And I'm 37 now. So it's not like, oh, I'm 21. I could get an AEW contract in 3 years. Like, I'm 37. I don't know how long I'm going to wrestle. Now, it'd be awesome if I wrestle as long as Ricky Morton and I'm 62. And I'm still out there. That's kind of the goal, but I'm not like, who knows?
Who's the guy that was an Impact wrestler, Trey Miguel, who's like 70, he was 73, 72. I forget, it was a few years ago. Mike Jackson, I think it is, that's still out there.
Yep.
I mean,
I'll be that guy. There's no limit on when I'll retire. So let me say that first. But I lost 3 years of my career waiting in COVID. I think I had a total of like 8 matches in like 2 years.
I heard Allmark when he was here kind of say the same thing. He lost like 2 years. Allmark's like a few years older than you, and Allmark kind of had, when he was here 2 years ago, said kind of the same thing.
We all lost that time, and very few companies had shows. It was sad. It was very sad. I was in a real bad place mentally.
Especially if you were here where we were, like New York, New Jersey. It was like very depressing. Very depressing.
Exactly. I remember. I still remember it so well. And so, a big part of even me starting at GTS and like, oh, there's a company I can get to every week and wrestle at least once a week, maybe twice a week. And in my mind, that was my way of making up for that lost time. And in a way, it kind of did work out that way because much like you're practicing every week, you're having almost like a territory system. You're wrestling all the time, you're training all the time. You get better and better and better. And in doing GTS every week and then starting to get bookings again all around the region, really, suddenly it was, hey, I can do singles, I can do tags, I can really start emphasizing my ability in all these different ways that now, because of COVID and because I lost all that time, I'm more than making up for it now. I'm trying to do everything I can right now to make an impact that I thought I might have made in like 2021 if I had the chance. So all this has been, it just feels like everything's been building up is what I'm trying to get at. And it's all building upwards and upwards and upwards. And there's no loss of momentum. I mean, I've had so many GTS main events. I'm so proud of that fact. I had these incredibly long title reigns at GTS. I wrestled everybody that there was to wrestle there. I have a winning record over Grimm. Most people don't have that. I have a winning record over Doo-Hop. Most people don't have that. And then I get these little moments like this are what really stand out to me, where I can say, oh, yeah, you ever heard of GTS? Oh, Grimm, yeah. Oh, Doo-Hop, yeah. I go, yeah. I main evented the biggest show in GTS history. And I don't say that as in like, I'm so great. That's just the fact. But
I think it's a big deal. I part of me does kind of agree that I'd rather have the 300 full house than the 30, 40,000 views on YouTube, because that acoustics, that live feel. This was a hot crowd. This was a crowd that was like really into you. You mentioned Thunder Rosa being there. Like there was definitely like, an atmosphere to it. Look at TF Crew, we're going to talk about in a few minutes. I mean, like, you were in places that, like, you could feel it. You could just feel the energy. You could feel the momentum. And I think that, like, that in your career, sure, you said 37. All right, I know it's not 21, but you still have these opportunities. Gabe, to his credit, talked about that he did want to see you get a singles run. And I think that we're seeing that. And I think that all of the, it's almost like a book, right? You look at it, and I know you like, let's even go from last year, right? You had the GBYW and We're Not Dead Yet, right? That show we talked about a lot here, right? Sick Rick was here. Shout out to him. And look at that success, right? Obviously, everybody's been watching the videos, and it's been one thing. You win that championship, right? Then you go and start TF Crew, right? You have this match with Santiago we're going to talk about, right? Obviously, people are wanting it, so they want more of that, right? Then you have even though the GTS run was still kind of before the GBYW, but you have what you've had this year, the back and forth with Grimm, and then this with Controversy. Now, 2 weeks from now, on Friday, you're going to have Carter. So if you think about your run, right, the last, let's say, year, maybe a little less than that, it's like a book of chapters that I think, and everybody here in this chat thinks, it's going to lead to where that final chapter is going to be where you're going to be remembered, and you're going to be remembered not just here, but in terms of footnotes like PWI, footnotes like major championships, and getting more opportunities with guys like Darius Carter.
I really appreciate that, and I like I said, I'm really not trying to put myself over. You doing that enough for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I can do that for you. I'm a hype man. Listen, I can do that. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Moments like this were really awesome to me, just to be in that moment. But then to hear things like Grimm say that was the greatest show we've ever had, that was the most important show we've ever had. For people to tell me the importance of what I'm doing, that's what I latch on to. Yeah. And it doesn't feel like I've even reached the top yet. That's the coolest part. Everything's exciting again. Where during COVID, and even at the beginning of me trying to get out of COVID and start to do GTS and local indies again, it felt like, am I going to be treading water? Am I going to get anywhere? Is like, all right, I'm wrestling some trainees. Okay, sure. Like, you know, just a couple of months ago, we wrestled and defeated the Monster Factory Tag Team Champions.
Oh yes,
in a non-title match. Like that kind of stuff. Yeah, that kind of stuff blows my mind. Because yes, we definitely had this great opportunity wrestling Rock and Roll Express, but most of the time in 2019, 18, then into 21, we didn't have all these really big matches.
Sure.
In these big moments, we weren't winning all these titles or anything. It feels like now things are kind of clicking, and it's really exciting. You can feel it. It's palpable. Like I'm going to be so excited if I have the opportunity to come on this show with that Matt Pro Wrestling Grand Championship and talk about all the companies I'm defending it in, or talk about my experience being in the ring with a Darius Carter, a South Philly.
Well, you're going to come back and talk about it. I mean, I know we know you're going to win, but like, I think we're going to have that opportunity, and I think you're going to do great. I mean, I really think that this is something that you should have got. Yeah, we all agree it should have been a while ago, but you're getting it now, and I kind of look at it like you can't look back at the past. You can only go forward, and then I really think that you're going to do great. I think that this is what you've worked for, and I think you know what to do. It's like, listen, I've had some of these bands on. I had, one of these bands, Kicks, and it took them a long time. They got the one hit. But they got the hit. It took them forever. They would have liked more, but they got it. And I think for you, it's kind of like I know it's been a grind, 9 years in the Indies. Before that, obviously, the GBYWN, obviously being in the backyard, coming cross country to here. But I think all of it, at the end of the day, it's going to make the hard work pay off. And it's going to make that journey. I know it's been long. It's been a long, winding road. Definitely bumps in the road. Definitely been forks, U-turns. But it's going to make for what you do here in 2 weeks, and after that, it's going to make it that much more special.
I completely agree, because I have this mindset now, and I wholeheartedly believe this, that they're really exciting stuff is coming up, and it's super exciting when you truly believe that the best of your career is yet to come. And for some wrestlers, you're not sure, or you just kind of, I don't think so. I think so. I think now the best is yet to come this year and next year.
I've been saying that to everybody the whole year. It's my line. The best is yet to come. I see the Indie Vision guys. They actually repeated it on their podcast. Yeah, I mean, I believe in that, because I think that you just don't know what's ahead, and you don't know what's good until it's in front of you. And I think that you're going to do those things. And I really think that There is plenty of championships ahead. There is more on the journey. And you can see, as I stated, those championships. Obviously, there you go. And a lot of, I think the people that come on here see it. Obviously, we see the GBYWN championship. You've held it up. We see, obviously, the UWC championship. We see, obviously, all these great championships here that you've got. And I really believe that there's more of that ahead. And I think that you're going to do just a lot of great stuff. And there's Papa Bear, and shout out to Papa Bear, who's, probably going to be betting on something right now. But if you'd like to follow Rad Dad, please do so. And I hope that, you join us here for what he'll talk about in the future. He's got Darius Carter. I'll put that poster up before we got off the air. And we'll talk about that 2 weeks from Friday one more time. We'll talk about some other stuff. But what I'm really excited about, I had somebody that wanted to say hello to you, but we'll see if they come on. But I really do want to talk about, though, well, I've got a chance, and we'll see. We'll go back and forth, I'm sure. But I really want to talk about this TF Crew match you had with Angel Santiago, the Puerto Rican Prince. I've been waiting 4 months to talk about this match. And on top of that, I just heard Angel Santiago on a podcast, and he talked about this match. It's certainly one of those, almost kind of was like what I just saw with you and Jimmy Controversy. I finally got a chance to talk about it here now. And talk to me about, will we get a rematch between you, Angel Santiago, TF Crew, YouTube Championship?
Well, Tom, first of all, you already waited 4 months. You sure you don't want to wait till the next interview to talk about this?
No, we're not winning, because by that time I ain't going to get you. By the time the next interview is out, I'm sure there'll be so many other things to talk about. I'll have to wait another like 3 or 4 months knowing you. Gabe is going to make me wait another 3 months just as a joke. So by the time, it'll almost be a moot point. I'll have to talk about GBYWN because there'll be something, I'm sure, there or something else. And I'll have to talk about Carter. I'll have to talk about UWC. EBW Pro will probably be somehow stacked in there. Shout out to Gus. So I have no doubt that, listen, I could wait, but then it'll be like the balloon. It'll popped already.
Sorry, Tom. I'll try to do less stuff between the shows.
No, don't do that. It won't be fun to talk to you then. Some people come on here and it's like they have nothing to talk about. You at least it's
there's
interesting.
always something going on with me. My favorite thing about just the experience of the match at TF Crew, which was the Unhinged Rumble show, is that Gabe Sayers himself has been advertising it online as one of, if not the greatest match in TF Crew history.
I think it is. Did anybody tell me otherwise? I've been following TF Crew for 2 years. Gabe's been coming on my platform for 2 years. I've seen TF Crew from what it was to where it is. Can anybody tell me otherwise? You tell me. You wrestle for the company.
It was incredible to be given at least that accolade as far as the match goes itself, because it's another match I am very proud of. And that crowd, Connecticut wrestling fans love Rad Dad. Doesn't matter what company. 2TW, Test of Strength, Legacy is Timeless. Like all these different companies I've wrestled for in Connecticut. Connecticut fans go gaga for Rad Dad. That's just how it is. And this was the exact same way. I only appeared for TF Crew once before, and this is my second live appearance in front of their live crowd, and I had an incredible time. The connection was palpable immediately.
Yeah, that crowd was like, when you came out, because I can't for copyright reasons play it, but that bad, you could just feel like, like every move you both did, it was just like, I could feel it from here. And I've watched it now 4 times. This is like, I've been waiting 4 months for this. I've been waiting 4 months for this. So and it's only come out like a month or so ago. So this is, you could feel it. It's like if you went, I told you off the, this to me was like going to a punk rock concert. It was like you go there like CBGB here in New York, or you go to the Paramount here or Lemoore in Brooklyn when it was here, and it felt that same vibe. It just, to me, you could just, the electricity. You coming out the way you did, and Santiago and all the people, like they were all on top of you. It was just something about this show and this match in particular that added, from here as the viewer, the electricity.
I absolutely agree. I love this venue, the PAPW facility. Obviously, the training facility for Paul Roma, former Four Horsemen,
Yep.
WCW Tag Team Champion,
I
the
was about to
title I'll
say
never
that. Yep.
get.
Yep.
But I love this venue because it reminds me of what I think wrestling should always kind of look like, which is a little dangerous,
Yeah.
a little dirty. Like wrestling should not be clean and
That's a punk
orderly, and
rock,
we
but
have
that's a rock
rules.
show. It's like going to a rock show. That's like you go to a club
Mhm.
and there's 100 people on top of you, 80, 90 people, whatever it was. And it's like you feel that raw aggression. You could see it, like Santiago coming out, and you could see just the people there and just that connection. Like, just it's different.
Oh
The
yeah, raw is
syndicate
the right
here.
word.
Yep.
Yeah, raw is definitely the right word because these fans were ready, and they'd already watched the entire show. We were the I guess technically the co-main event with the Rumble
Yep.
itself after us, and this crowd knew exactly what was going on. They knew the 3 belts were on the line. They hated Angel and they love me. It was palpable, and I love a crowd like that. Compared to others, where like at the GTS live event, they all didn't know who we were. GTS is their first live event. They didn't all know the GTS brand, and that was very well established during the show. This crowd knew exactly who we were, and they were hungry for it.
Yeah, I mean,
And
we talked about this a lot here leading up to it. I mean, you were here. Gabe talked about it. I mean, this was definitely very anticipated. This was, it was big fight feel. There was just that, like, I want this,
and I was very proud of the fact that as a professional wrestler, I want to do unique things. I want to have unique accolades. I can say I did this and this and this, and no one or very few others have done. I'm the first person to ever defend the GBYWN World Championship in front of a live audience at an indie show. I'm the first person to defend the GTS Legendary YouTube title at a different company outside of New Jersey, maybe ever.
Wow.
Like it's that kind of stuff is very exciting to me. I love you. Like we talked about this many times. I love the traveling champion. I love the unified champion idea. One top champion, like that kind of stuff. We can't really do that in modern day, but we can be traveling champions. We can have these titles be prestigious in multiple locations. And when you tell people, whether it's on commentary or maybe even during the match, ring announcer mentions that this title has been defended all over the world, that means something to a wrestling fan.
Yeah,
it
and
means
even
you're
Angel
not just
talked about it when he was on the show he did last month. He did a podcast, and like you could just see, like a lot of tickets this was, I believe, more tickets than they kind of like GTS. There was more tickets sold than they anticipated. There was a lot of young people here that were really following it. We talked a lot about it here on this platform. I see the audience and just they were into this. This was just like very, very, like I said, raw aggression. You could just see what you guys did, and just there is a true animosity, that you guys are polar opposites. He certainly has one way of how he sees things, and you have another.
Absolutely. This was the largest attended TF Crew show ever, and hopefully that will be broken next time.
It will be broken next show
grow.
because I'll be donating, I'm sure, a ticket or two, and so that'll give him closer to the finish line. But yeah, no, I mean, it helps.
Angel and I mean, you could just look at us. We're two very different breeds from two very different places.
Yeah.
But we've both carved out a niche for ourselves as the best of the style we're trying to perfect. He's very much a striker. He's a dirty fighter.
Karate background. Yep.
Absolutely. And he's very cocky and very confident. The confidence is what really matters. If you believe you're going to win, you have a way better chance of winning if you don't. And I'm more of a mind game guy. I'm playing around with him a little bit, trying to get him off his game. But when he's that confident, it's hard to break that. And that's where the human game of chess, as they used to say back in the day.
But that's how he's been successful as TF Crew champion. What he's done with other people, whether it's Obey, whether it's Mikey Anarchy. I mean, that's what he's done as champion. That's what he's done in terms of what he has felt about this championship and what he's, certainly been very vocal about how he sees things. And, he obviously sees things different than you. There's obviously a magnitude of just what this title meant in terms of, like you said, the TF Crew YouTube title, the GBYWN championship being defended, first time in a live venue, the YouTube title the TF Crew has had in the growth of that. And you could just see two people and what it means to them, but yet so different in what they represent and what they would bring to the table.
They always say styles make matches, right? And this is a true subject of that, example of that, because we are so vastly different that it creates something very special in how our match goes. And even as something as simple as the 20-minute time limit, we had a championship time limit to prevent injury, so we couldn't go on all night because we had a rumble afterwards, and that's going to be an hour long, and we can't just sit around for the entire night. We have a curfew. So even something like the 20-minute time limit is so different from like a GTS where there is no time limits. There's no rope breaks out there. This is one of the few times. The live event is also a good example. It's one of the few times where a GTS title was defended under regular wrestling rules. Well, I can do regular wrestling matches better than anybody else at GTS, in my opinion, right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, because of your experience, but obviously Santiago is trying to figure out how to deal with your style. He's trying to figure out just what will work for him. It's a 20-minute time limit, which again is very rare, especially kind of in this circuit. I don't remember, when ever on Sportswire. I'm doing this 6.5 years. I don't remember talking about an underground or indie-ish company doing a time limit match. I don't recall doing one. I've done one in the back. I've done a few in the backyard, but they added 5 minutes, which is what we'll get to toward in a few minutes. I'll bring the time up a little quicker on this, but like that I've seen, but it's just, to me, so fascinating because of just two different men. You're revered. The crowd reveres you. Angel, people just, they despise him. They despise what he represents, but he's been extremely successful. There's no denying Angel is an in-ring competitor and how far he's come. He's talked about, listen, who has trained him, a man that you have a link to. You literally have a link to him in Doc Holliday. And you could definitely see it in what he's brought to the table and where he's also traveled. He's defended the TF Crew Championship outside of Connecticut. I mean, you guys have both been traveling champions. Think about that. He has traveled and defended this championship in other places. You have obviously now defended the GBYWN championship for the first time in a live show. You have been traveling, and yet you could be far from similar.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously I watch everything Angel does and TF Crew does. Angel's defended the title in Florida a few times.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even wrestle in a ring sometimes.
No, he wrestles like outside, and he wrestles sometimes like, in a parking lot. Yeah, he's done some, interesting things over the years.
And that's funny that, he learned from Doc Holliday, because who else also didn't wrestle in a ring sometimes? Doc Holliday.
But yet Angel hates hardcore and deathmatch wrestling, which that's where you guys, I don't think you hate it, but it's not your style. And he's been very vocal about that's not what he wants, even though he's sort of partaken in it because of who he's wrestled, but he's not a fan of it.
Right. And I've always been strictly, I'd say 99% of the time, I've always been strictly an in-ring performer. Yep. I'm a wrestler's wrestler. Like, that's kind of my style. That's my bread and butter. And that means sometimes, if I'm in like a weapons situation, a hardcore situation, it doesn't always go in my favor. But in a situation like this, I felt very confident that we could have this incredible match. And I really thought I was going to be able to take him out. And you'll see near the end, I still feel like I should have been able to take him out. There's a little bit of interference going on. But ultimately, also this, I injured my arm.
Well, this is where, so I talked to you before this match, and I talked to you about the preparation. I talked to you about just going into a big match like this. Walk me through when they want to stop the match here at this point. What is going through your mind here?
So I don't know how many people know out there. I have a really bad left shoulder. It pops out
You
sometimes.
talked about it here before. I think you did talk about it here.
Yeah, and then you can find footage. I have to wear a brace once in a while. I will have to wear it at my normal job too. Sometimes, like it's not the best thing in the world for your shoulder to get messed up like that. So this is all safety protocol. I get it. Like people are coming up asking me about if I want to stop it, and I'm literally yelling, "I'm not going to stop this fight," because what are they going to stop it now that I've yelled? Like I'm going to keep going? Like what are you talking about? They're not going to stop this. Do they want to riot? Do they want the fans to like ask for refunds? No, I'm going to keep going. Now you might say that's a really dumb thing to do, but like I said, I've been in this situation before. I've had to deal with this, like in a very physical job. Oh, the right land.
Yep.
I hate that one because I land right on the top of my shoulder with that, and I hit my head. But I've been in that scenario a few times before. I know it hurts, but it just hurts. It's not like I'm gonna tear anything extra per se. It's just a pain situation, and he, the good news is if he keeps pulling on it, it might kind of reset at some
But
point.
that's a smart tactic on his part, in that he knows that in order for him to be successful, he's got to take away something that's already vulnerable of yours. He's working on a part of your body that could be a problem.
Yeah, and I don't blame him for that at all. If anything, I would be insulted if he didn't try to go for it, because that means he's not putting his all into it, right? And with his martial arts background, he understands limb work. He understands how to break and bend things. I totally understand that. Like I said, Angel Santiago has the tools. He took a championship that, for all intents and purposes, was just used on YouTube as like entertainment value.
Before he was champion, I've said this here when he's been here. It's not been recently, but it was like not. Let's just say it wasn't the caliber of what you're seeing now.
Yeah, and I don't even know, like, technically when Gabe Sayers believes like the championship technically starts. Does he add those little title reigns? I don't know. But Angel Santiago took that title and made it a at least nationally recognized championship, defended in the Northeast and the Southern states, all the way down to Florida. That's a great accomplishment. I wish every independent promotion had a champion that would want to defend the title across the nation like that.
I think Angel sometimes, and I said this when you were here last, I said this when Gabe was here, I think Angel sometimes doesn't get the credit because of the other champions that come on here that are peers of his are looked at a certain way and what they've done in terms of their respective promotions. And I think sometimes Angel doesn't get that same kind of maybe recognition or accolades because he comes across a certain way, and maybe like on this platform, it may not resonate with some of his peers. But I think if you look at his body of work and what he's done and how far he's come in the past 2+ years, I think you would really see, regardless of what happens here and what happens in the future, that he's definitely been a hell of a champion. He's a hell of a competitor.
I mean, you could look at pretty much any wrestler in the annals of history, and you'll almost never see a time where somebody's given credit at the time when they should. It's always after the fact. It's always after the fact.
But I think here with him, especially because I know like a lot of his peers and contemporaries that come on this platform in different places, I feel like he doesn't get mentioned as much, maybe because he's not here a lot. Maybe it's because he has a certain approach in ring, outside the ring. But I think if you look at what he's done and what he did in this match, I definitely think that Angel Santiago is, whether you like him or not, one of the very best in this circuit, and he is the TF Crew YouTube champion for a reason.
Well, I mean, in a lot of cases, a lot of guys will come on to your network or any of these places. They're going to talk about themselves. A lot of talk. Talk.
But this one, though, is the only one really in the underground. I mean, we're talking about the underground, and this is the only one. So, like, when people come here, you know what I'm saying, right? They come here, and there's a certain, they come across, and they are here. An Angel, when he's here, it's almost like, I don't know. I said this when you were here before, but I really think his in-ring work and what he's done, he's definitely, like I said, one of the very best.
And he's still so young. Like you said, in the last 2 years, an incredible change. I'm not thinking about Angel Santiago now. Can I beat an Angel Santiago now? 1,000% yes.
We asked you that question before. We talked about his youth.
Yeah.
We talked about just the fact that you were obviously the veteran. You're the guy that obviously, in terms of where you are in your career, he's got the youth advantage. He's got the ability that he's got factors on his side that he doesn't deal with the injuries that you've dealt with. And that's why there would be that question of, could you hang with him? And Angel obviously felt a certain way, and you did hang with him, though. You definitely did hang with him. You definitely stayed in this fight, and you were there. You were right there despite everything he threw. He could say, like he said on a podcast last month, that you shouldn't get another shot. And, it's past him, but he didn't win either. He didn't win.
Right. And like, essentially what I was saying was, like, I think I can beat him now, but it's really the Angel Santiago of 2027, 2030 that when I'm a little older and he's in his prime, he's not even in his prime yet. This is his building stages. This was his experimental stages where he's doing crazy stuff, and he hasn't landed on his head as many times as me. So he's still got a lot to learn, but also he can afford to make a lot of mistakes because he's young. We're talking about a double title defense. In a lot of cases, you think about traditional championship match, it goes to a draw, the champion retains. This was a double title match. It wasn't, Angel Santiago retained. We both retained.
Yeah.
We both successfully defended our titles.
And that's what this is why I want you here tonight, because he has been saying that, well, he retained. Back. Yeah, well, that the magic of the adrenaline of the crowd. But I mean, I think he's made the case that he retained, but really, you didn't lose either. You didn't lose.
It's one small thing I'm annoyed by, but on camera you can't see it. The referee actually grabbed my arm and pulled in order for my shoulder to go back into its socket. Unfortunately, it's not on camera. But anyway, the thing we got to remember is Angel Santiago got a shot at my GTS title, my GBODM title, and he didn't win it. So it's to me, it's very different from me being the challenger and not being better than him. Because obviously you want to be the champion, you have to be better than the former champion.
I don't remember if I think I've said this. It reminded me almost, you were a historian, Bob Backlund and Ric Flair wrestled each other when Ric Flair was the NWA World Champion. Yep. Bob Backlund was the WWF World Champion. If you look at the importance and the magnitude of this match, it's kind of the same thing, because you're the GTS, YouTube Legendary Champion. You're also the GBYWN World Champion, and also he's the TF Crew YouTube Champion. So if you think about it, it's kind of the same story. It's the same situation. It's champion versus champion. Titles are on the line, but really, at the end of the day, we don't know who's the better man, because the better man, there was none. There was no better man. Basically, to throw it out there for the sports fans, it was the old hockey draw. It was the old hockey draw. You go to overtime, and it was a draw before shootouts. This is basically what we had here. We had a tie. We had a tie.
I will say, much like Flair Backlund, nobody walked out of this match thinking lesser of either champion. It was more of, oh, Backlund's great because Flair couldn't beat him, and Flair is great because Backlund couldn't beat him. And I think in a way this elevated all the championships. I think this match elevated everybody to a level.
I think it elevated you, that the people wanted more. The people were decidedly behind you. But yet it also did elevate Angel, because I think going into this match, there was some people that looked at Angel. And is he really a big time player? Well, guess what? That answer is yes, because Angel, he did have a plan here. He worked. What he did in the first half of the match was certainly enough to at least keep his championship. What you did in the second half of the match, using your adrenaline, using everything you had from your knowledge of this sport of nearly 2 decades, got you right there. It got you right there to have that shot, to have that opportunity, and get you right as close as you did. So you could look at it and saying, from a match like this, both men showed why they are where they are, and I think it's a tale of two halves almost.
I also got to point out, just because I'm noticing on camera how insanely sweaty I am, that was an extremely hot building.
And by the way, for those that may not know, that was in January we're talking about.
Yeah.
In January
4th.
The heat was really on there, really. I mean, boy, the heat was really on there, I'd imagine.
Man, it's not the hottest I've ever been in a match, because I've wrestled outdoors in the summer, but it was extremely hot. And 100+ bodies in that tiny room. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of perspiration. Yeah, that's the right word.
And here we have another moment where Angel Santiago, I hit him with the stepdad stunner, the step-in stunner. Yep. And he had the wherewithal to fall out of the ring. It's another thing that 99% of the time wrestler can't or wouldn't think to do. They're not loopy. Angel Santiago is real good at running away from the problem. So it's probably a natural reaction for him to get the heck out of there.
But that's been something that allowed him to retain his championship. It allowed him to be as successful as it is. And you tried everything you could here.
But this is a big difference. I'm trying to win the match. He's trying to survive the time limit. And those are two very different mindsets. Was that his plan all along? I really don't know. I got him with the double stunner, and now watch over here. Yep. One of his boys grabs his body. I can't even move his body. Come on.
Well, what you just said is, like, sometimes in sports, teams, they just do enough. They do enough to play they do enough to win, right? Then there are those that want to do more. They want to go on the offensive, right? Then there are some, if I have the lead, like if I'm in football, if I have the lead, I just want to move the ball enough. I don't want to do anything stupid. I don't want to turn the ball over. That's what he did. You, on the other hand, listen, you were right there. You knew you could win, but you were looking for that touchdown. Even though you didn't need the touchdown, you were looking for the touchdown. You were looking to drive down the field. No, you didn't have to. And in this case, both strategies led to what we saw here.
It shows how different of a champions we are. Different strategies, different mindsets. Both successful. That's the thing. There's no one solid way of being a great champion, but there's a moral victory. I feel like I earned the moral victory that night, and the fans definitely saw that, because
the fans were into it. But I mean, there's no question. But there has to be a bitter taste in your mouth. Has to be a bitter taste. In your mouth.
Yeah. I mean, So later on that night, for people that watched the entire event, at the end of the show, they started chanting my name again. Keep in mind, I wasn't in the Rumble. My match had ended. I had already gone to the back. They chanted for me again. The court of public opinion agreed with me that
that crowd, my goodness. I mean, I'm shocked Angel got out of there safely. He needed, Christopher Black and everybody else there to help him. There's no question, because I hope they got him in that car safe and sound, because there was no question that crowd was decidedly, I mean, they were like, it was 99-1 Rad. I mean, I would say maybe one, Angel has a friend or two, maybe at most. 99-1 yours.
No, I heard his car was right next to the exit door, so they probably left immediately. But no, I didn't feel awesome at all, of course. And after that, I yell at Grim and stuff because we had our feud at the time. That was relieved some tension for me to yell at somebody's face. But obviously, no, I don't want it to end that way. Nobody wants it to end that way. And having the fans chant my name, it means something to me. It means something to TF Crew management, Gabe Sayers and stuff.
Yeah, Gabe was very vocal about you here when he was here last.
And obviously this not just a sport, but it's a business. They obviously want to make money. The fans want to see this match again, and they'll pay to see this match.
I would pay to see it, and I actually did pay literally, and I want my money's worth. I want round 2. I mean, I paid to watch this. Somebody went on my behalf, and like I don't know when the future is of TF Crew shows ahead. That's obviously an open-ended question. You know, I asked some of the guys that have been on here recently. Jacob was a guy that I spoke about it of. I'm sure I'll put the TF Crew YouTube link up here in a minute before we get to some final words here and stuff. But I think people want to know who is the better man. You know, I mentioned Backlund and Flair, right? We never got to see, though, who was the better man. You know, people talked about originally when Ric Flair showed up to WWF, and he was technically the world champion at the time, and Hulk Hogan was the world champion. People wanted to see that. We never got to see in WWF who was the better man between Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan. And I kind of think right now, like, this is a match that I would like to know who is the better man between Angel Santiago and Rad Dad Radley. Because right now, I feel like between Angel and Rad Dad, there is no better man right now. We should want to see that. It's like in wrestling, right? People always wanted Undertaker and Sting to wrestle because they were the company men. He was WCW, Undertaker was WWF. People always wanted that match. We never saw it. And I think right now with you and him, round 2, because round 1, nobody won, I think people want to see, you know, you use the boxing reference. And, you know, there was a thing between Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis, right? People wanted to see who was the better man. The first fight went to a draw. We wanted to see who was the better man in that fight the next time they fought. And I think right now it's kind of like the same thing. Who is the better man? Who is the true champion of the underground? Who is the true champion of TF Crew? Who is the true champion of the GBYW? And Angel talked about that history. He knows the history. He talked about it elsewhere. So he understands the magnitude of it. And I think that we should see this one more time. I don't know where. I don't know when. But I think that the people, and I think myself included, would like to see it.
All I know right now is what was aired on the most recent edition of TF Crew Unhinged, which Gabe Sayers announced on that episode that we were going to have a 6-man tag. And in that 6, because of the public opinion, you know, I think he already had future contenders lined up for either myself or Angel Santiago. I don't know if that's being held off or exactly what's going on with that. Obviously, the Rumble winner was involved in all that. And he said, we're going to hold off just to make sure we're going to have a 6-man tag. I have to find 2 partners and it doesn't have to just be in the TF Crew. It could be anybody in the whole freaking world. And you know me, I know a lot of people.
Sean Jovi was here.
It could be Sean Jovi. It could be Sean Jovi. I need 2 partners to take on Angel Santiago and his 2 lackeys, whoever they're going to be. And if Angel wins, I guess we move on for a while. Doesn't mean I'm going to give up, but it means he's going to go on to whatever his next contender was. I don't know. They never publicly announced it. But if I'm able to, or any of my partners are able to win this 6-man tag, I will get a rematch against Angel Santiago for the TF Crew World YouTube Championship. And that's to be decided at a future date. I don't know if that means it's just going to be another 20-minute time limit. I don't know if it means no time limit. I don't know if it's going to be stipulation. And to me, it doesn't matter. If I get my hands on Angel Santiago, I'm going to win that title.
Well, I think that, and we have some comments, and I'll get to them. I think that people should want to see, because I think that, sure, we have a Rumble winner. Sure, other people can lay claim to that shot against Angel, but you didn't lose.
That's
So
right.
to me, this is a different dynamic because you didn't lose. So to me, I think you should still be the next man up. Obviously, you've got your work cut out. You got to figure out 2 different people to get. That could be anybody. You said it could even be outside of TF Crew.
Yes.
But I think that you've got a lot on the line that you're fighting for. And I would hope that you would find a way, find the 2 people, whoever they are. Could even be Papa Bear. Papa Bear could be one of the
I mean, I'll throw names out there. It could be Papa Bear. I know he's a little busy. Could be Mike Damage. Could be,
Matt
Sean
DeMora?
Jovi.
Matt
Could
DeMora?
be, it'll never be Jimmy Controversy. I can tell you that. It's not going to be Jimmy Controversy.
Yeah, Doc Holliday.
It could be Doc Holliday. Now, Doc and I haven't had the best history.
Yeah, I know that.
But it could be Doc Holliday. Imagine me and Doc Holliday teaming up.
Jake is TF Crew. He was
there you
here.
Go. I mean, it could be Gabe Sayers himself. Probably not, but it could be. And there's so many combinations like that. Me and Sean Joey together. Me and Doc Holliday teaming up for the first time ever. I have a tag team partner in GTS he just left GTS, but Jungle Jim Wilder.
Yes. How about Be Insane was there in the chat?
Yes, exactly. And maybe one of the spirals will turn a new leaf, and Eris Spiral will be my partner.
I think
you never know.
As much as I know Eris and Lauren Spiral, they're not on my bingo card for you. Is the
we'll have to wait and see. But
duly noted. I give you that. I that could be, but I don't know if they're the names. But there could be a lot of names. You do make a point that there's a lot of names ahead. And that we'll have to find out. And the way we find out if you get another shot at Angel Santiago is to go to the YouTube channel of the TF Crew to find out more. And yes, Ox McCoy rules. Ox came back in here. And let me get to some people. I thought I had somebody to say hello to you, but maybe they had connection issues. Hello to Barry. Yes, hello to Wyatt Black. Give Rad a follow on Instagram. Also, Zilla's a fan of yours. And I did want to put up, before I get to final thoughts, that yes, this is also, by the way, I got a new toy for you. Got that really Belmont.
Oh.
Yeah, I got a sound box. So I figured, we put the certificate up and give you the applause. And I've been using sometimes because when you're here, we don't have this issue. But when other guys come on here, I have to use this button. Yeah. Because we get other people on here and they just go off, and that's why we're not doing a roast on it. Because some people will go, let's just say, they'll go overboard. But it was a great movie with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. But we're not going to reenact it here. But we have a sound box, and we've been using that. I thought I'd give you the applause. But all right, so you know what? I know you're a busy man. You've been so generous with your time as always. Let me get to a couple things. First, I have to come back to it one more time. Give me your final words for Darius Carter before June 13th.
So June 13th, Matt Pro Wrestling, the biggest night of my singles career, nearly 9 years as a professional wrestler, 37 years as a professional wrestling fan.
Wow.
And I'm in the finals of a tournament for a brand new championship for a company that I hold very near and dear, that emphasizes autism awareness and showing that you can thrive under any situation. And here I am trying to thrive under the ultimate situation because I am taking on Darius Carter. For these fans, for my step fans, for the people that have been behind me for so long, for many of my own peers that have said, you should try to be a singles wrestler. You stick to tag teams, but just give it a shot and see what happens. And beyond my wildest dreams, really, because I never knew how far I would go. Here I am in the finals of a tournament against a man who's won, in my opinion, the current most prestigious tournament in independent wrestling right now. He's won it twice, and here we are in the finals for the Matt Pro Wrestling Grand Championship. It means everything to me, not just to be in the match, but to be representing what I'm representing against what I truly believe in my heart is one of the best independent wrestlers in America today. And I'm a man with everything to lose and a world of pressure on my shoulders. And I like it that way because that's when I am at my absolute best, and I will need to be at my absolute best against the man that probably hasn't seen a lot of footage of me, but I've seen a lot of footage of him. And all I need is 3 seconds because he can be better than I am 23 hours and 57 minutes of the day. I'm going to wait. Hold on. I did that wrong.
Well, 23
he needs
hours,
to be better than.
Yeah,
I've never done that before. This is a fun little promo moment.
23 hours, 59 minutes, and 57 seconds.
Thank you.
You're
and
welcome.
I only need to be better than him for 3 seconds.
Well, you know what? The most dangerous person sometimes is that person that you know nothing about. You don't have anything on their scouting report. We talk about it all the time on here. I have a background in college sports. We talk about that where sometimes you don't know that team, you don't know that player. And a guy like Darius Carter, he's not maybe studying your footage, but that might make you most dangerous and most accessible to winning that championship from him and certainly taking something that would mean so much to you and to be able to have an opportunity to maybe go places like we spoke about the PWI 500 and have a footprint that people would talk about a long time. And this show is coming up here for those that may or may not know. It's going to be June 13th. It's going to be at 266 Mantola King Road in Brick, New Jersey. Doors open 6:30 p.m. Matt Pro Wrestling, obviously very important cause, autism awareness. Obviously, we're all very supportive of that. Bell time 7:30. Card is subject to change, but this is, guess what? General admission only $25. I went to see Mission Impossible in IMAX, and that cost more alone than this. This will be much better of an experience. It'll be much more of a good old time. That's why you got to go out there and support this Darius Carter, Rad Dad Radley Belmont, one of those matches we're going to think about a long time on here. I'm very excited about that. You should be too. You can go to Rad Dad's page, which we'll put up here on YouTube and Instagram one more time. Okay, so obviously that's that. And do you have any final words for your GTS future here coming up?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
You have any final words for your GTS future here coming up?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. So for me, like I said, I announced to the world that the next time I lose, I will be leaving GTS. That means the next time I unsuccessfully defend my Intercontinental Championship, the next person that beats me, that's it for me. You know, I'm going to move on from GTS. Now, that's another way of me trying to make the world appear on my shoulders for me to try to do the absolute best I can. It seems to be a running theme for me to want to always have pressure on me, but I thrive during pressure. And so anybody that has supported me and followed me on GTS Wrestling, please tune in, because literally any title defense I have from this point going on forward could literally be the last time I appear on the show. That's dead serious. So I do have an upcoming defense. It's not publicly known yet, so I'm not going to mention it. Yeah. But any defense I have could be my last, and that could be the end of me and the end of the Datitude Era in GTS. And as many of you may or may not know, the last 2.5 years I've been wrestling for GTS. I've done pretty much everything you can do as a singles wrestler there. I've wrestled everybody there. I've defeated everybody there. It's amazing accomplishments that I'm very proud of. And at some point it's going to go. It's going to be it. And I definitely want to go out. I think it's the right thing to go out on your shield and to kind of pass the baton to somebody who's going to, continue on for you. And that's something that when I started at GTS, I defeated a man named Cletus Bailey for the Intercontinental Championship. I was only 10 weeks into the company, and that was one of his last matches. And it felt like they strapped a rocket on my back, and I defeated somebody who had a lot of clout, a former YouTube champion who was just happened to be the Intercontinental champion at the time. And I want to do that for somebody else now. I want them to have the rocket strapped to their back and really move on to bigger and better things in GTS as I move on to other things on the independent scene. I literally have a booking this Friday for SWF. That's in Port Monmouth, New Jersey. I know. Papa Bear. Yeah. I'll be teaming with Papa Bear against Eric Corvus and Eddie Thomas.
Okay.
And then June, I'm just going to throw all my dates, might as well. June 7th, I'm wrestling for UWC again. I'll be defending the UWC tag team titles, the ones you guys just saw earlier tonight, against a first-time ever match against a team called the Unleashed, which I guarantee you is more. They're a more creative team than their boring name, but they're a great team. Andy Bivens and Average Joe, and we'll see how average he is against me. And of course the Bayside Thriller. I'm wrestling twice. If you hate Rad Dad Radley Belmont, you might not want to.
No, they don't.
I'm all over this freaking thing.
No.
But if you love Rad Dad Radley Belmont, you're getting a double dose.
No, we love Rad Dad, and it's great to see that you're busy as much as you are here. 4 or 5 matches here in the next month or so. That's great. I mean, that's you're where you want to be, and you're doing it in places that it means something. And listen, whatever happens in GTS, one door certainly closes, many doors open. I think the Darius Carter match is that is so cool. I really know you're going to, knock it out of the park with that. And, obviously UWC is still in action. SW, I know SW very well. Port Monmouth, New Jersey. Sure, I know Port Monmouth very well. And, you're going to be in other places. Obviously, TF Crew, we'll see what happens there. You basically answered that. We'll have to see who you pick for that 6-man tag. And should you get that opportunity with Santiago, I am dying to talk about that. Should it happen again? I know Gabe said he'll be back here within the next few weeks. So we'll see if Gabe comes here and talks about it. I think a lot of people, like myself included, want to see that. But, again, obviously GBYW, and we'll see about that, what the future happens there. Obviously, we're not dead yet. Yeah, you know what? That's obviously an open-ended question. Stay tuned for that. Shout out to Sick Rick. Obviously, go to Golden Triangle Media on YouTube. The videos are just blowing up. My goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Let me put the link up there before we go, because obviously you got to go out there. Please support all the guys. I mean, the guys have been killing it. I mean, Rick has always been such a generous supporter here. I thank Rick for all his friendship and everything else. And please support Gold. They just hit 2,000 subscribers. What a cool thing. They had I hit 1,500. They had 2,000. So definitely they continue to show why they're leading the way. Please go out there and support. Jovi wanted to come on, but he had an emergency. That's okay.
That's okay.
Torrance Banks, I thought was going to be here, but he said, he'll come back, hopefully. But that's Rad's on YouTube. That's also Golden Triangle Media. Also follow Rad on Instagram. And I can assure you there'll be more coverage here coming up. GTS, stay tuned to GTS's YouTube channel. Also, TF Crew, I put that link up, UWC, all those great links up there. Just trust me, you will definitely want to check out all the footage, old GBYWN footage out there. You've got stuff that goes way back in the time machine. It's all up there. Check it all out. There's just so much footage for anybody. Marcus Anafante's footage is still up there. Just everybody, Mike Damage. You want to see old Mike Damage stuff to get ready for the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational, which, of course, we know that Rad Dad's going to be a part of, and we're certainly excited to see the Bad Sons versus the Stepdads. We've talked about that here in prior shows, and I have no doubt that we'll see what the future is. You have any closing thoughts? Anything else you want to say before you want to get out of here? Anything else you got? Or
I mean, really, the last thing I have to say is it kind of goes back to how you started this podcast. You said I was one of the founding fathers of your network here.
Yeah, you are.
I mean, maybe stepfather, maybe.
But, well, my stepfather, who I still really won't call him that, but yeah,
founding stepfather, maybe. But I definitely feel like the greatest machines ever built. Really hold together by every single little bolt and lock and pin and screw, and that's really the subscribers, right, and the followers and the viewers. And
I mean, 1,500. I can't believe it. I have 1,500.
You absolutely deserve it, my man. You deserve that and like 5 times more, and that's just being on the low end. I'm telling you.
It's very kind of you to say that. It's very kind, but it's like, wow, 1,500. I mean, it's and Facebook, I'm almost at 3,000 followers. It's really like, wow, okay. But it's been, look, as I said before, we'll go, all the people really made that happen. It's not, they're here because they wanted to tune into all the guests and they've seen people from different platforms. Really, since you've been here last, it's the people that brought Rhino on to here. It's the people that brought Savio Vega here. It's the people that brought Gary Wolf here. We didn't pay for them. People pay to have like all these WWE names on their podcast, and I didn't have to pay 1 penny really because of all the people that came here. Last night, 20-something people on the live celebrating, for 2.5 hours. The night before, they did it twice. I mean, people, they made it where these guys said, I want to be here. I want to come on your platform. I didn't ask them. I didn't solicit them. These bands coming on here, they came on because of the people, all the wrestlers, all the backyard companies, the underground companies especially. And I'm nothing without the people. That's my honest. People ask me all the time, you're too humble, but that's my honest belief. I'm nothing without everybody like yourself and other people that come here and make it where I'm here every day. Like if I take a day off, like people like, where are, even if I have 2 people on the live, people like, where are you? So, I mean, we don't have that problem, but like that's really the truth, is that the people sat tonight. We had a nice turnout tonight here. A lot of people, we were double digits on the stream here. We had a lot of views, a lot of comments, and it's really because of the people that said, we want this one. We want this platform. So that's my thanks. I thank you for all that you've done for us. I can't wait to talk about the match with Carter. I can't wait to talk about what is the fallout of your TF Crew story, and certainly your fallout of UWC and GTS, and who knows where else you wrestle, and SWF as well, and EBW Pro. Who knows? Maybe you'll show up there. To all my friends in Glock Cluster, and I think I got the name right, but
yeah.
And I did. I got it right for a change. Shout out to Gus, and he likes me, so that's a good thing. But thank you, my friend. Congratulations. I will give you the physical copy when we're off the air. Yes, happy Rad Dad. Happy Memorial Day. Thank you to all of our veterans. God bless the veterans. My dad's cousin was in Vietnam, and they were drafted, and he was the one that went one ahead of my dad. If my dad was drafted, well, Rad, you'd probably be talking to yourself right now. But yeah, but no, it's okay. I'm here now, so it doesn't make a difference. But happy Memorial Day. Thank you to all of our veterans. Definitely, please thank a veteran. And I do it every day, regardless of Memorial Day. Thank you, Matt. Definitely tell Michael Keaton my regards, and tell him I didn't enjoy him in the last Marvel movie he was in, but that's okay. But until then, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. My voice really does hurt now because I exerted myself. We'll see you tomorrow, 9 o'clock, with Godric Sandwell, the gentleman of exquisite caliber, kind of like your Pennsylvania counterpart. I'm really fascinated to see what he has to say. He's in West Virginia tonight, and he's going to go drive for 3.5 hours and come and be on Sportswire tomorrow. So God bless him. God bless America. God bless Rad Dad. Happy Rad Dad Day. And thank you, everybody. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally where all music and wrestling matters. That is the GBYWN World Champion, one half of the UWC Tag Team Champions, and the GTS Intercontinental Champion from the Stepdads, Rad Dad Radley Belmont. Follow him on YouTube, Instagram, TF Crew, GTS. Check them all out. Also, check out his match with Darius Carter. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. On the number one, Global Radio, the Sportswire Radio, where all music and wrestling matters. See you tomorrow, everybody.